Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I would rather not because I've sprained my ankle and I'm bed resting as per the
Oh,
doctors. So if it's
oh,
right, I'll be here. I'll speak if that's okay.
yeah,
Keep.
yeah, no problem. No
Thank
problem. That's okay.
thank you.
Please take care.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so we'll begin the 16th chapter today. First by invoking the invocation mantras. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuro Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So welcome everyone to the 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Before we go on to the 16th chapter, Hare Krishna, I would like to know, we would like to just quickly summarize 13th and 14th chapter. So instead of me summarizing 13th and 14th chapter very quickly, I would like to ask questions today to see how many of you actually remember what we studied in 13th and 14th. So first question, and all of you can be unmute, so you can just unmute yourselves and answer the questions. What was 13th chapter about? What were the 6 topics we discussed in 13th chapter?
What is the field? What is the know of the field? What is the field activities of the field? Who is the knower in all fields? What is the object of knowledge?
Knowledge and object.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I can't remember the. Yeah.
No. You almost said 5 of the items, and 6 was knowledge and object of knowledge. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And then what did we specifically study about knower of the field? Who is the knower of the field?
There's 2 knowers of the field. There's the super soul and the soul.
Wonderful.
But the super soul exists in all fields, but
Yeah.
the soul is only in one field.
Wonderful. And which 2 words in the specific verse explain that there is a super soul aside from the soul? Wonderful. Thank you. Sachikumar and Prabhu mentioned it is Chapi. Okay. And then does anyone remember what are the 20 knowledge items?
Earth, wind, fire.
Sorry? Pridelessness.
Oh, sorry, that one.
Forgiveness. Tolerance. Simplicity. Austerity. Truthfulness. Steadiness. Therium. Sanskrit. I'll prefer if someone can remember any Sanskrit. Therium. Yes. Steadiness. 20. We are still on like 7th or 8th one.
Spiritual master.
Sorry?
Seeking a spiritual master?
Not seeking a spiritual master, it's a byproduct. It is Acharya Upasanam, which means serving a spiritual master.
Yeah,
Only after you seek, you can serve. So it's a right answer. What else? That's why I said, remember the verse itself, because if you remember the verse, you don't have to, torture your brains for what qualities. Automatically, the musical tune will come to your mind and you will be able to tell those 20 qualities. So, 8.
Oh.
Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa shantir arjavam. Amanitvam, man means honor. Aman means one who doesn't expect honor, which means pridelessness. Adam. Then adambitvam, one who is not boastful. Dambha means very boasty person. But adambitvam means one who is not boastful. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. Shantir, one who is peaceful. Arjavam, one who is simple. Acharya upasanam. Shocham, sthairyam, atmavinigraha. Acharya upasanam means one who is serving a spiritual master or seeking a spiritual master. Acharya upasanam, shocham, cleanliness. Sthairyam, steadiness. Atma vinigraha, self-control. Atma means the self. Vinigraha means to control the self. Today is Ekadashi. How many of you were here in the temple for morning breakfast feast? Feast. Did you take feast on Ekadashi? Atma vinigraha. Prabhupada is very, he is not forceful about Ekadashis, but he wants people to follow Ekadashis. Acharya upasanam chacham sthairyam atma vinigraha. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. Janma meaning birth, mrityu death.
The evil of birth, death, old age, and disease.
That's right. Evil of birth, death, old age and disease. Dukkha doshanu darshanam. Darshan, you should have vision of these. You should be able to see these. That's when you actually have the vision. That means that's when you actually have the knowledge. Knowledge doesn't mean to know everything in sequence in your head. It doesn't matter if you know everything in sequence in your head, but you should have the darshan of the knowledge. You should have the vision of the knowledge. You may sometimes not be able to explain the vision that you have of the knowledge, depending on your stages of spiritual progress. But at least for yourself, in your soul, you know that you have seen it. You know what it means to be diseased. You know what it means to be old. You know what it means, what is the pain of the birth. Like we are now grown up, we don't realize what is the pain of the birth. But there is a pain of the birth. If we have even vague memories, then you'll realize that I realized that in first 25 years of my life, I don't know how I existed. I studied but just looking at, I was not aware. I was unaware, which is almost non-existent. If you are not aware, then, you just have vague memories. You have memories of how you were, how your friends were, how your childhood was. But you are not aware that, oh, I'm in this body, I'm maintaining the body. Full consciousness is not established. So Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. And then there is something to mention about detachment from general mass of populace. So not taking association of Gramya. Gramya means people who live in who do worldly talk. Magazines, literatures, movies. So avoiding worldly talk. And then we had, specifically for devotees, we had this quality that they should be fully devoted to Krishna. They should be fully devoted to Krishna. Then cultivation of knowledge was one. So like that, these 18 qualities, that's why I said memorize the verse. If you memorize the verse, there will be never a time where you will not remember these 20 qualities. I don't know how many of you have. Yes.
Sorry, in terms of the activities in the field, does this mean that if you're not doing these activities, you're in ignorance? All the other activities are ignorance? Is that what the verse is trying to say?
Which verse? The
So,
knowledge
so
world,
you know, in terms of the field of activities, the concept, the field of activities, if the soul in the field of activities, the body, if it's not doing any of these things, it's in ignorance. Is that what the implication is?
it's Krishna says it's avidya. That, he says
Okay.
that is my opinion. He uses that, literally uses that is my opinion. That if you are doing these 20 items, you are actually in knowledge, which means you have possibility. Now, when you are in knowledge, you may have different grades of modes in your knowledge. Like, for example, take a simple quality of simplicity. Now, simplicity for a person who wants to understand and learn the subject matter of simplicity, depending on their experience and their background, they can understand same simplicity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. The simplicity in the mode of goodness is true definition of simplicity, where someone is very straightforward, very simple, have basic necessities of life. Take, for example, a sannyasi. A sannyasi is extremely simple. They have no necessary needs. But if you were sannyasis, in the mode of Shuddha Sattva or pure goodness, but if you were then to become a householder or a married person, you may also want to be simple. But your definition of simple is different to the definition of simple by a sannyasi. So depending on your varna and ashram and depending on the modes you are in, the same principle is slightly different. However, the impetus or the stress is on achieving the ultimate or the highest. So if you are not even wanting to be simple, if you are a super complex as a human being, that essentially means you are in avidya, you are in illusion and in ignorance. So you are right. Because Krishna says that rest everything is avidya. So this is knowledge, and then from knowledge, then tell me what is the benediction of the 13th chapter? It doesn't harm to have Bhagavad Gita in your hand, because just by touching the book, you get everything. Because when you touch Krishna, who is the unlimited source, you become unlimited in everything.
You obtain the supreme goal. That's what it says.
Correct.
Which is Krishna. Because in chapter 9, he says he's the Gatir.
Correct. 13th chapter is you have opportunity for liberation. If you understand this knowledge, even philosophically, because someone may not have full realization of all the concepts. But Krishna says, even if you have philosophical understanding, then you have an opportunity for liberation. That is the benediction. And then he also explains that because of, after explaining knowledge, Krishna explains Prakriti and Purusha, the enjoyer, who is the enjoyer and what is the material nature. So can someone tell me how does a living entity get entrapped in the Prakriti or the material nature? How does a living entity get entrapped in material nature?
Seeks to play God. He wants to be the Purushottama rather than Rusha.
Yes.
So he gets engaged by the modes of nature.
Gets engaged by material nature. Yes, partially correct. Then Prabhu said samskars. So that is definitely one. It is an ultimate cause, but there is an immediate cause which traps the
Sense gratification.
karma.
Sense gratification.
Sense gratification. Yes.
Lord of material nature.
Sorry, someone said the answer just now.
Expression of karma.
The 3 modes of material nature.
3 modes of material nature. Lavin Prabhu just said. So 3 modes of material nature is the one which entraps the living entity into material nature. There is nothing else that binds us to the material nature. So because 3 modes of material nature binds us, Krishna then wants to explain Arjuna 3 modes of material nature in depth. And in next chapter, before Krishna goes into the next chapter, Krishna explains this very beautiful verse. He says that the soul is never entangled. The soul doesn't become entangled in the material world. So we had a question right now. Who is giving this session? My body, The material modes of nature, my mind intelligence, or is it the soul? And does anyone remember the answer? We had a lot of soul.
Spiritual activities are conducted by the soul, material by the body
Perfect.
and mind.
Perfect. Nayan Prabhu gave a very good answer. He says spiritual activity is conducted by the soul with the agency of the material mind and basically by the agency of the three modes of nature also. So in reality, three modes of nature are carrying out all activities, because when you are doing spiritual activity, the soul is desiring and those desires are fulfilled by the three modes. At the same time, when you are doing desiring material things, then the body is conducting the activities under your impressions of the mind. But in both the cases, the three modes of nature are acting. And therefore, by law of logic, Krishna concludes that only three modes of material nature, all the activities have been concluded, which I think Brandon, Prabhu and Cecily Mataji also gave an answer on. So now 14th chapter began where Krishna started to explain three modes of nature. So tell me, what are the three modes of nature in Sanskrit? I don't want to hear English names.
What was the benefit for the 13? Did you say that?
You have an opportunity for liberation, even if you understand the subject matter philosophically, not necessarily through realization. Even philosophically, you will get an opportunity to have full liberation. Go back on back. And also an important point in chapter 13 is Krishna says only devotees can understand all these 20 qualities properly. Only devotees can understand all these 20 qualities properly. 18 qualities can be understood by Gyanis, but only devotees of the Lord can understand all 20 of them. Okay,
Sattva,
so
Rajas, and
So
Tamas.
why we don't have
yes, Harini Mataji. You are stuck.
this verse we were speaking about the 20 qualities? It's not 20 verses to learn because it's important verse.
I really struggle to actually hear your voice. I think the connection is really bad. But you can type if you, yeah.
Okay.
You,
I was saying that this verse
yeah,
about the 20 qualities, why is it in the verses to learn? Because it seems like an important verse.
yes, very important verse. And today we are going to repeat it, come what may. First three verses are about these 20 qualities again. So it's the importance of these 20 qualities. That's why I said just memorize it. Some things, there is no alternative. There is no secondary best option. Like you can't get Tesla oil by something else. But Tesla is Tesla, for example. I'm just saying. So there are some certain things there is no alternative. There is no alternative to having cleansing your body. If you eat, you have to go, full stop. So similarly, this verse, there is no alternative. And if someone just memorizes this verse constantly in their mind, they will have great realization in their heart. Every single moment they can ask, am I in knowledge? Am I not in knowledge? Every single action of life, they can just ask this question. Is the 13th chapter, the verses of knowledge, which is I think 3rd and 4th verse of 13th chapter. Starts with amanitvam. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa shantir arjavam acharya upasanam shocham stharyam atmavinigraha. And then I need a clue to remember the remaining portion.
Nityam.
Ichha dvesha. No.
Nityam chasam. Nityam sacham.
Saktiranabhishwangaha. So verses 8 to 12, Mataji. 8 to 12. Asaktir anabhishwangaha putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishta anishta upapattishu. So I don't know how you can see it, but you can, those who can actually see it, I have, cost categories and to memorize this verse, and I have also underlined few words. I've made separate notes. So every Sanskrit word can be broken down a little bit. When you break down Sanskrit a slight portions, then it becomes so easy. It's not true that Sanskrit is difficult and one cannot actually understand or recite or memorize. It's not true. You just need a decent teacher. You just need a decent teacher, because the complex Sanskrit words, they are repeated again and again, but they are all conjoined. And because they are conjoined, when you read it, you find it difficult to actually pronounce it. But all you need to know is the ability to break those words. And as you continue to read Sanskrit more and more, you will realize the same words are repeated many different places and their root meanings are similar. Like darshan, the word darshan means to actually have the vision, but that can also be used as drishyati. Drishyati means to see. And pashyanti is a synonymous word with darshan. So you will have a vocabulary of such words, darshan, drishyati, pashyati. And then when you start reading the shlokas, suddenly you will realize you read the shlokas. Rather than just reading English, you can actually directly read the shloka. Like one of the verse that we are going to do today, which is the summum bonum of a devotee's existence. And that verse, in English, it may not have the profound impact when you read it. It may for some people. In English, the profound impact is when you use some word jugglery and place the words in the other direction. Or you have, thou shall not kill, something like which is archaic English. Or something which is very powerfully put across. Then you have this impact. But Sanskrit, you have an impact nonetheless. So therefore, the benefit is that the discrepancy is when you read the Sanskrit, you feel like impacted, you feel elevated. But when you read the English translation of the same Sanskrit, you may not feel the same intensity. You may just not feel the same intensity. To have the full intensity, you have to pronounce and you have to break down the words. All of this happens by giving time. Those people who can't give time will therefore always struggle to do Sanskrit properly. Even if you can spend 1 year properly just breaking down the words, writing down in a notebook. The way I will tell you how I learned English, how I started to learn English back in my school days. So I don't know how, but I was studious in my nature. So every time I wanted to learn English, every time I made it a point that I come across a new word in English, I made a note of it in my notebook. That notebook must be lying somewhere. It's still at my home. So my vocabulary of English words was somewhere around 300 to 400 special words. I once used a word called agglomerate in my essay, and my teacher couldn't understand what the word was. And she asked me, where did you get this word from? And I said, look, I have this notebook wherein I'm capturing all the English new words. Amalgamation. I only read this word when I was making notes, and then after that, Prabhupada used this word in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. I have never read amalgamation anywhere in general English anywhere. So when you are actually learning a new language, it helps tremendously if you keep a simple notebook and every time you come across a new word, jot down the word and jot down its English and jot down its root, meaning whether it's a positive word or whether it's a negative word. Sometimes a word can have a meaning which is positive. So if you understand the root and if you understand that it's a positively said word, then you can understand the context of the word. So, okay, so moving on. So that, yes.
The question is akshara. Is that the same as achyuta?
Aksharaksha akshara uttama. That's the 15th chapter. Dvau imau purusham loke sharascha akshara uttama atoshmi loke vedecha pratitaha purushottama. Akshara means one who is fallible. Akshara means infallible. Achyuta means one who is missing his target. Achyuta. And achyuta is one who never misses his target. Unconquerable, same root, infallible. Prabhupada uses this word infallible, unconquerable. Similarly, there is word for avyayam. If you heard this word avyayam, Mayavadis use this word avyayam so much. Because avyayam means unmanifested. Avyay means one which cannot be seen. And Krishna used avyayam many times in Bhagavad Gita. But the word avyayam, when Krishna uses in the context, Krishna doesn't mean unmanifest. Krishna means inexhaustible. inexhaustible. So the same word Avyayam actually used in proper context means inexhaustible. But Mayavadis always refer to it with only one definition, which means unmanifested, unseen. That one that cannot be seen. So making simple words, then you will be shocked when you start read Bhagavatam and other Sanskrit books. Suddenly, by doing the same exercise over a period of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, suddenly you will find yourselves, when you're generally speaking to people, you are speaking in English, but you will have a habit of using 1 or 2 Sanskrit words in between. Because as soon as you use the English, the potency of the Sanskrit just comes in your heart. It becomes a second nature to you.
Brahman is another example, right? Brahman can be body, super soul, and
Paramatma. So Brahman is a word which is Brahma-an, which means double A and N. Then there is Brahma and single A and N, which is Brahman. And then there is someone called Brahmana, Brahmana, which basically means someone who is a Brahman, like by Varna and caste. And then there is one Brahman which is used, Brahmana. So Brahman, and Brahman with single A all have different connotation and different meaning, because the way you pronounce, and unfortunately in English language in schools, no one is taught how to pronounce R, because if I ask you to say Krishna, because actually Krishna is Krishna. In Sanskrit, it's not Krishna, it's not Na, it's Na. Na is A and D and something else. So Krishna. Now Narayana, it's not Narayana. Na means N, but actually it is Narayana. So because we are not taught that sound, we have not taught that pronunciation, so it becomes difficult. So in my home, I'm teaching my children just this one word. And they are competing with each other. And they can't say it. My girl can say it, my boy can't, but I have to just still boost his confidence. Say, yeah, well done, you've done it. Because, at least he has confidence to say it, try it again.
And with Brahma as well.
And then there is Lord Brahma, which is without an N. Okay, so we move on. So the stress is remembering some shlokas. And if someone wants to say, okay, I'll start remembering all the shlokas today, tomorrow. No, this is a game of patient. This is a game of, long run. It's a marathon. You start today, you start making a notebook. The returns are, I can't explain to you. The returns are amazing. You will feel so much joy in your heart just by repeating the same. Like you sing this song, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha. Now Vallabha, what do you mean by Vallabha? Vallabha means one who gives pleasure. So Vallabha, which this word will come again and again. Gopi Jana, what do you mean by Jana? Jana means not a single person, but multiple persons. Gopi Jana means all the people who are of type gopis. Gopi Jana. But the Jan word can also be used for all masses of population. Harini Mataji, you had a question?
Yes, I had a question. I wanted to ask you, how do you do to learn so many verses?
Yes.
Because for me, when I try to learn even 5 verses, after 5 verses, I can see the first one.
Yes. See, the problem is world is wanting to take you 1,000 feet away they want you to look at from top. So when you look at the volume of the verses, you are so afraid and you think that it is never possible. But let me tell you, don't look from 1,000 feet top, just go very deep into just one something. So when you are starting with Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, just take one verse and don't move ahead till you understand every portion of that Sanskrit. Just do one verse and don't move ahead from that verse till you understand every portion of the Sanskrit in English, suppose, or French. If you understand French, then just break down the whole verse in English in your notebook with many arrows going everywhere. And in every single arrow, you tell yourself, okay, this word in English means this. Is it positive connotation, positively used, or negatively used? And if it is a word like darshan, and if you have heard this word previously again, in the past, if you have heard it, then what was the word you heard? And then put a question mark. Are the two words related to each other? And then always ask back to people. Now when you do one verse properly, and you take, for example, 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, start reading from the qualities Krishna mentions which are most dear to him. In 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna starts mentioning qualities which are most dear to him. So if you want to start reading the verses and understand Sanskrit, and just start with those 10 verses which Krishna begins, and there also he begins with the same, that nirmana moha jita sangadosh. No, he says that, one who is prideless, one who is humble. So start with that few set of verses, 6, 7, 8. Then you do the mastery in those 6, 7, 8. Then you always think and meditate on those 7, 8 verses. Then you move on to next subtopics. Always do something in small batches. Like when we do Srimad Bhagavatam goes from one story to another story to another story to another story. It's story in a sequence. So if you have to recite or understand or memorize Srimad Bhagavatam, you only recite, say, Kunti Maharani's prayers. Queen Kunti's prayers, you can recite all of them together. Then you can go on to say Bhishma Dev's prayers. Similarly, if you go to South India, they may not know whole Bhagavatam, but they will know Gajendra Moksham prayers. They all sing early morning Gajendra Moksham because there are benedictions. Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions that South India is full of karma kandis. What will I get? If I do something, what will I get back? So there are many pious karma kandis, but not just that, there are many devotees also who early morning just recite Gajendra Moksham. But do they know exactly what Gajendra Moksham? But no, they don't know, but they just know the prayers. So you take a subsection and you recite all the verses. And the way you do it is you go slowly one by one, every verse, and do it over a month, 2 months, 3 months. And that way you perfect one thing. That's it. Krishna conscious doesn't mean unlimited things. Krishna consciousness means detail to one thing, to extreme details. And in your own language, that's most important. Whatever your natural flow of language is, if you're fluent in, say, French, do it in French. Because you have to speak to Krishna in French, right? If someone is by birth, if they are Russian, and suppose they are acting as a CIA agent and speaking in English, no one knows that actually they are Russian. They always think of him as an English. Suppose that person gets caught by CIA, and CIA then asks him, are you a French? We think that you are Russian, but he speaks in perfect English and says, I'm not Russian. Then they use their technique. They, really beat him up, or they suddenly give him some shock, and suddenly he starts to speak in Russian. Because when you are in distress, you use the language in which comes as your natural language.
Famous joke that Prabhupada told me.
Is that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Same thing.
So the point is, you have a natural language, and within the language, you have a dialect. Like I know people, in Vrindavan, they have a specific way of speaking. They have a dialect. So they speak to Krishna in that dialect. So Mancunians have their own dialect. It's a sweet dialect. And similarly, Birmingham people, they have their own dialect. Scottish, Irish people, they have their own dialect. And they must speak to Krishna in that dialect. So they must understand Sanskrit in that dialect. So when you start reading Sanskrit, break it down, write it down in your own dialect, pronounce it in your own dialect in your mind, and connect it all. Just one verse. And then after one verse, a group of connected verses. And that's it. Then pause and then move on to next after few months. In this way, slowly and steadily, you will become very good with portions of Bhagavad Gita. And after you unlock this thing very slowly and steadily, suddenly you will find vast volumes of information is completely open to you with no need of some Sanskrit scholar or expert. Why? Because you have done the groundwork of putting down something simple and basic. Okay, we digress quite a lot now. So, yes, Manaji, go ahead. Are we allowed to mark our Gitas? Very good question. Srimad Bhagavatam is body of Sri Krishna. So basically, we should not, underline or mark. Unfortunately, my conditioning is whatever book I study, whatever important point I come across, I have to immediately do something there. All my notes are in my books. So I started to mark out, but I don't scratch the verses. The Sanskrit verse, I don't touch. I may pull out an arrow from there. I may, but I may underline in English. I may make notes up and down at the sides, but Sanskrit verses, I don't touch. I try my best to not touch them.
I asked Mary Man from this one time. He said, just do pencil.
That's it.
I've heard
Yeah.
pencil. Some people say no, I'll use post-it notes and what have you.
Yeah, yeah. It's individual. If you want to get this knowledge to become some puffed up scholar, then there is no use of underlining anything. If you want to use this knowledge to come out of ignorance and to help yourself, and so as you can remember the Lord constantly, because at the end of the day, the fundamental principle is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So whatever helps you to always remember Krishna.
Question with this, you gave an example about this mantra siddhi, and I forgot the exact thing you were saying. You're saying that both of them said it, but one didn't have the faith, so it didn't act.
Yeah, mantra siddhi. So every mantra needs a qualification. And if there is a parampara, then the mantra has full potency to purify your heart. And if the mantra is supposed to bestow some siddhi on you, it will bestow the siddhi on you. If the mantra has been received from parampara and the chain is unbroken. But if the mantras have not been received by parampara, then you can recite these mantras for unlimited time. There will be no purification. Just like in India, people recite Gayatri mantra day in and day out. There is no benefit out of it. In fact, there is some destruction sometimes because of accumulated energy and this and that. The mantra is powerful, mantra is potent, but qualifications have to be there. Similarly, for Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita also has qualifications. Bhagavatam also has qualifications. Chaitanya Charitamrita doesn't have qualifications. So Bhagavad Gita also, you are paying me right now to actually receive this Bhagavad Gita. When I say paying me, you are actually paying your attention. You're actually doing some austerity of logging onto Zoom, coming into the class, because of which you become qualified. And most important qualification is not being envious of Krishna. Okay, so we move on, unless someone has some other point.
Give the book outside to someone enthusiastic, only give a donation, give a big donation thing. I'm not giving a small book, or give a big one. They don't believe.
They don't believe. If they are not envious, then they might get benefited. If they are envious of the Lord, then Krishna says in today's chapter that they are cast into lower species of life because they are envious. That's why Vaisheshika Prabhu's fundamental principle of book distribution is always leave good impression. Why? The moment they have a good impression of you, their envy towards Krishna is reduced. You get it? They might not believe in your religion, doesn't matter. But because you have had a good impression on them, you have had good relations with them, their envy towards Krishna is reduced. That makes them qualified to get the knowledge at some point in their future. This lifetime, next, doesn't matter.
It's huge.
It's huge. That's why it's very important to just leave good impression with people, even if they don't take the books. Okay, we move on. So 14th chapter, Krishna explained, what did Krishna explain? Prabhuji mentioned the 3 modes of nature in Sanskrit. Anyone remembers? Sanskrit names for 3 modes. Yes. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So what does Sattva mean in English? Goodness. Rajas is passion. Tamas is ignorance. So same word Tamas can be used Tamayoho. How many of you have word Uttamaha? Uttamaha. One who is above Tama. Now the same words will make you more sense. Purushottamaha. Purush means enjoyer. What kinds of enjoyer? The best type of enjoyer. Who's above the modes of Tamas. Purushottamaha. Similarly, Sattva. Sattva, Shuddha Sattva, Vishuddha Sattva. Sattva means mode of goodness. Shuddha Sattva means pure goodness. Vishuddha means someone in front. If there is some word before which you add Vi, it means it adds more importance, more weightage to the same thing. So Vishuddha Sattva means extreme state of transcendence. So, okay, so we understood modes of nature. Krishna started with explaining the material world first in 15th chapter then. And because modes of nature, Krishna explained, what are the different habits of people in the modes of goodness, passion, ignorance? What are the destinations? What are the destination of the people? What is the destination of a person who is in the mode of goodness? Sorry? Heavenly planets. Destination of person who is mode of ignorance? Take birth again as human being. No, passion. Yeah. So, and destination of someone who is in the mode of ignorance? Gliding down further to the hellish planets. Now, important point is what Sachikumar Nimai Prabhu mentioned is mode of passion people, they come back as human beings and then they also glide down. Some of them will stay as human beings, some of them will glide down. Now, majority of the world population is in passion. You can just meditate on these two statements. What are the possibilities? What could happen to the world population? Because majority of them are in passion and ignorance.
If they're pure, they come as kings of rich people, right?
No. If they are devotees, Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe. If someone is a devotee and doesn't complete their perfection in this life, then they come back as the sons and daughters of rich people or in Brahmana families, devotee families.
I mean, specifically in this purpose, it's saying that it's pure passion. It said the modes are mixed.
Yes.
It's pure passion when they come as a king or a rich person, but it says that it can also come in madness as well.
Madness,
if
yes.
The mode is not pure.
Because all modes are mixed, at least for us here. Because we are on the middle planetary system. Middle planetary system, nothing is in its purest quality. Like once someone came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, you are the most fallen. And Prabhupada said, you are not most of anything. You are not most of anything. So you are not the best fallen person. You are not the best elevated person. You are always somewhere in between.
So goodness is straightforward, right? Because you go off up to the islands. Passion, if it's mixed, then you could become mad.
You can glide down to the lower species or you can remain as human being.
And then ignorance is a confusing one because you can go lower species or hellish planets.
Ignorance is generally always lower species and hellish planets. Depends on what level of ignorance you have cultivated.
Which is worse?
Hellish planets.
Also, the worse in ignorance, then you got hellish planets. Not so ignorant, then animal species.
Which is also bad, right?
That feels worse.
The question is,
animal species.
After hellish planets, if you have to go to animal species, what's the use?
Or you have to do both anyway.
Yeah, because once you glide down, then you go to hellish planets to actually suffer the reactions of your bad activities. And when you suffer, what happens when someone beats you so much? Does your consciousness remain strong? The consciousness just diminishes because you don't have a capability to take the pain. So, they sedate you in NHS, right? The sedation basically reduces your consciousness. You can't. So basically you glide down.
First the pain and then you go down. So you get both anyway.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of demon you are. This is the demoniac qualities we are going to study today. Okay, so 15th chapter. After explaining modes of material nature, Krishna start to tell Arjuna that, okay, these modes of material nature are dangerous, but let me tell you, towards the end of 14th chapter, he said how to come out of these modes of material nature. Does anyone remember how to come out of the mode of material nature? Online?
Ask for help. Call for help. You were given an analogy of someone in the burning house and you can't do it yourself. You need to go get someone from the outside.
Wonderful. This is the best example. If you are locked in a burning house, open the window, ask for help from someone. And whatever they say, guide, you follow them and you will be saved. So Krishna gives this formula and says that one who comes to me, to my devotional service, comes back to my spiritual abode. Now, after having said this, then Krishna starts explaining in 15th chapter, he gives distaste for material world to Arjuna. So he explains first what is material nature. This banyan tree, which is going side and, Loki, who is only holding the timelines and, all these kinds of characters. He's explaining the material world is a very dangerous place. and best is not to come to this material world. And after explaining all the material world, he explains that, I am beyond this material world. I am outside this house. So you should call out for me. And similarly, spiritual masters are outside this house. So you should take shelter of the spiritual master. So 15th chapter, Krishna establishes his position. And he establishes his position by saying this very famous verse, Dvau imau purushau loke, that in this world there are two types of living entities, fallible and infallible. Sharascha akshara uttama. Then he says that know that I am beyond both the fallible and infallible. Pratitaha purushottama, that I am beyond both fallible and infallible. So infallible people are the liberated souls. And infallible people are all of us stuck here in the material world. But Krishna is beyond, and therefore Krishna says, therefore I am sung in the Vedas as that infallible person. And then he goes on to say this very famous verse that I am the source of knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. From the Vedas I am to be. Because Arjuna knew now the answer of coming out of the modes of nature, then he would say, why should I study Vedas? There is no need to study Vedas. There should be no importance given to the Vedas. So Krishna is establishing that actually Veda is me. But what I'm telling you now is higher than all of that. So coming to my devotional service is topmost. And the benediction of 15th chapter. Can anyone tell me what's the benediction of the 15th chapter? The last two verses. Very beautiful verses. Benediction of 15th chapter. Perfection in all your endeavors. Whatever you want in your life, successful career, this, that, Krishna says anything you want, for that you will need to achieve perfection. For that you need to know me. If you know the perfect person, if you know just in common material world, if we live with people who are perfect, we become perfect. Is it not true? If we work with Prime Minister, you can't be an ordinary, charlatan secretary. You have to be like up notch. You have to be in the game. So even in the material world, we have seen to become perfect, you have to associate with perfect people. All these big shots, they always come together as big shots. You can't see someone like a beggar with the big shots. Is that possible? No, not possible. So similarly, when you associate with the most perfect personality, Krishna, then you achieve perfection in your life. So Krishna says, anything you want to achieve, you start knowing me first. Then you will achieve perfection. He says, anyone who knows me in truth knows everything. And he says they achieve all perfection. So this is what 15th chapter is. And then Krishna starts to explain in 16th chapter divine and demoniac natures. So today we'll start with the 16th chapter. Any questions so far? If you all are still awake and not sleeping. No questions? Okay, every time I press this, my Zoom disappears. I don't know why.
I just had a realization on it in the sense that most people you're saying are in the mode of passion. So like 99% of this world populace is going to be coming back again or going down.
Going down mostly. Therefore, so Nayan Prabhu just having this compassion in his heart, having a realization, he's saying that, he's reiterating a point which I mentioned, that maximum population of the world is in passion and ignorance. So he's saying that maximum percentage of population is then going down to hellish conditions. And this is exactly what Prabhupada was challenged. Once Prabhupada was flying in an aeroplane and, an Indian gentleman came. Their understanding of a sannyasi, Indian understanding of a sannyasi, was a sannyasi should not go to West. Sannyasis should not board aeroplane. They should just be very, like non-existent personalities. Too simple, not speak to people like that. So he asked Prabhupada, based on his conditioning, that, oh, you are a sannyasi. Why are you flying in aeroplanes? Do you know what Prabhupada said? Prabhupada said that people are at speed of aeroplane, they are going to hell. If I am not going to fly in aeroplanes and catch them, they will actually all go to hell. So to protect them from going down to hellish conditions, I have to be faster than them. This is Prabhupada. He had not just compassion, he has vision to actually, sorry, he had vision to see that people are going hellish. So we are saying these things theoretically, but he was feeling it. He was not just feeling it, he was seeing it. How did Vyasdev started to write Srimad Bhagavatam? He actually, with the Rishi Munis, they accumulated together, they assembled, and then they saw into the future. And after seeing the future, they were trembling with all this fear, think that our forefathers gave us such a nice generation. What are we going to leave with for our future? They became extremely fearful. And that's when they started to do the yajna to protect the future generations. And after doing yajna for thousands of years, they all became black with the soot, the smoke and the soot that was coming out. But their worry was natural because they were seeing it. When you see it, you feel it. If you don't see it, and if you don't have sensitized intelligence, then you don't feel it. Just like television adverts, constantly people are showing other people being shot dead, or constantly they are showing these explicit scenes. So even though people are seeing it, but they have desensitized intelligence. They are desensitizing you. So you don't feel it. It's dead. You're seeing the same thing again and again. You don't feel it. So this is the importance that you have to see it. You have to be sensitive as a human being, and you have to have a compassionate heart. Then you are able to feel the problems, which Prabhupada, of course, was the epitome of all of this.
Great example you give. I had some relatives from a village in India come over. I'm just sitting with them, we're watching daytime TV.
Yeah.
And then I start to feel it, even in the daytime adverts. That
Yes.
It's a bit much, isn't it? Because of them, because they don't see these kind of things. But normally,
yes,
we don't think about it at all.
Correct. So this is the situation. And in this chapter, we start then discussing divine and demoniac natures. Now I'm going to use this Sanskrit, Daiviya Sampada. Sampada comes from the word Sampatti. Sampatti means your wealth. Sampada, the word Sampada, it comes from the root word Sampatti. Sampatti means wealth. So Daiviya Sampada means your divine wealth or your divine qualities. And then Asura Sampada means your Asuric wealth or your Asuric quality. Sampada could also mean the lineage in some context. So this is generally, and demoniac qualities are greatly described in this chapter. So, we studied banyan tree in the previous chapter, and we wanted to, Krishna told that whoever understands this will achieve perfection. But what we didn't discuss is the tree is giving out some fruits. What are those fruits? The good fruits results in good qualities and bad fruits result in bad qualities. Online, everyone can see this? No, you can't see this. I have not shared my screen.
That's common.
One sec. That's why I was thinking why I can't, because I didn't share the screen. Now you can see it. Allow for 1 month.
Can you say fruits is karma?
Can I say fruits as karma? Yes. Karma will result in impressions, which are samskaras, and they will result in cultivating the qualities in you, good or bad. So banyan tree has good qualities and results in good fruits and bad fruits. And these are the divine qualities. And again, in this chapter, the divine qualities start with Abhayam, one who is fearless. Now, can someone tell me, how can one become fearless? Simple question, open to everyone. I want to hear from everyone. Yes, Prabhuji.
It's a biblical reference, but it says perfect love casteth out fear.
Perfect love
Casteth out, gets rid of fear.
Okay. Perfect love casted out is causing fear, is full of fear.
No, so the point is, perfect love gets rid of fear.
Perfect love gets rid of the fear. Okay.
Like where there's light, there's no dark.
Okay. Like where there is light, there is none. Okay.
So I'll take your example from before, which is associate with someone who has that quality.
Yeah, but that is getting rid of the quality. I'm saying, what is the root source of this quality?
Unknown.
The unknown. The unknown. Now I want to think you deeper along the same lines. Why does someone become fearful? And a very good answer Lisa Mataji gave is the reason of the fear is the unknown. Reason of the fear is unknown. Do everyone agree? Online, everyone agrees with that? Yeah. Okay. So now tell me, think along these lines. What is unknown? What is unknown called? Yes, Prabhu.
The desire to control the outcomes of the activities,
Yes.
which gives rise to fear.
Desires to control the outcome of your activities. And when you're not able to control the outcome of your activities, that results in fear. Fear and anxiety. Now the question really is, when can you not control your outcome of your activities? When you don't have knowledge of what's going to happen.
The root cause is avidya.
Root cause is unknown, not having knowledge. Not having knowledge. Not having knowledge in Sanskrit is called avidya. Then Prabhu has just said it. Avidya. But what is avidya? Avidya is a positive word for a term, which is what I'm looking for. Of ignorance. Ignorance. Fearlessness, fearfulness is because of not having, fearfulness is because of not knowing everything. Fear of unknowns. Not being able to control something because you can't control because you don't know enough to be able to control. So when you don't know enough, then there is an unknown, then you are fearful. But that unknown is basically causing you not having knowledge, which is avidya, and that basically comes from ignorance. Ignorance. Not having knowledge comes from ignorance. Yes, that's the root. If you are fearful, that means you are in ignorance. You don't have enough knowledge. And Prabhupada, he is giving this example that someone who actually has knowledge becomes fearless. Prabhupada himself was fearless. When he was making Juhu temple, he was fearless because the mafia was coming after him and threatening to kill him and threatening to take away the so much money that he had deposited, and that money was fetched with a lot of difficulties. And so Prabhupada was actually fearless. But Prabhupada, in his own example, in his own class, he's giving example of Socrates. Socrates said that I am not this body, I am the spirit soul. And the soul, as soul, I am eternal. And whoever the people, like the high priests at that time, church or whatever they were, I don't know exactly. They said to Socrates that, okay, we are going to kill you now. Because you are saying you're not the body, you are the soul. So Socrates actually said, yeah, go ahead, kill me. Go ahead, kill me. Socrates was fearless. Yes, Brandon Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhu, I was just wondering, what about in cases like when one sees something ghastly, or if, for example, I could imagine if I saw Putana before me, for example, I'd be very fearful, not necessarily because I don't know who this entity is, more like she's a scary woman.
Yes, when you see like a ghost or a scary woman, you could be fearful. But if you analyze the feeling comes from seeing something very ghastly. Suddenly, I remember the spooky things in our horror movies was suddenly if something comes. And the more horrendous than that was something is about to come. The not having that knowledge of what is about to come was more horrendous than actually the face that was presented. So, they build up the music before actually the face is shown. So you don't know what is going to come. So in reality, if you understand and, theorize it, then you'll understand it actually comes down to not having knowledge. Yes, you can see this ghastly person and also be fearful. Thank you for that. On a humorous note. Yes, Lisa.
What if one progress spiritually, or is it a case of still understanding that it's going to be gradual, so it might not be in this lifetime? But, yeah.
Okay. So now Lisa Mataji is asking a question is, what about the fear when you are fearful that you might not progress, or you're progressing too gradually, or you might not progress enough in this lifetime? So that is a spiritual fear. And that is because you don't know how Krishna is going to reciprocate with you. Because you're trying to reach Krishna, right? But you don't know, oh, am I sufficient for you, Krishna? Am I half? Am I full? And so there is this fear, oh, will I be cast into this hellish planet again? The same question Arjun is asking. What happens to those people who start on their spiritual journey and like clouds, they bifurcate and trifurcate and just disappear, so that a cloud is no longer seen? What happens to them? What is their destination when their journey is not complete? And Krishna says to that those who have become my devotees, they never get vanquished. He says Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe, which means someone who is my devotee, who has not perfected, will again come, but his situation will never deteriorate. He will always be on an upward trajectory. So it's very comforting for a devotee that we are not actually deteriorating. And Krishna just doesn't say it. He says that you will be given birth in a devotee family next life, or you will be born in a very rich family, so that your, half of my life, if I remember, has gone in making money. And even now also it's going in that, just in fear. My definition, real understanding of fear or defense is, most of the time we are defending ourselves. We are being fearful because we don't know that if we will work, who is going to pay our electricity bills? So half and more than half of my life is just going in that. In reality, my life is not meant to do that. Pranamoya, yes, Annamoya also combined in that. Where will my food come from? If I don't have knowledge, if I don't work, where will my food come from? How will I educate my children? School fees, this, that, expenses. So half of the 96% of the human life is gone in fear.
And that's passion.
This is in passion and ignorance. Avidya, ignorance. Therefore, when someone takes to brahmacharya or takes to brahmachari life, they are giving a chance to a life which is without fear. Anything can happen in future. Anything can happen in future. But they are giving chance to Krishna. They want to overcome fear for at least for some time. That's why Krishna, yes, Prabhuji.
I was just going to say that the lady who was given the middle 6 chapters, she gave a definition of what is a tilak. Tilak means somebody who's not afraid of dying.
Someone who's not afraid of dying. Ananga Amara Manjari Mataji, yes. So Abhayam is a very important quality, and this is specifically important for sannyasis, because if you are going to be in householder life, you are going to be in some fear, because you have to maintain your relationships, you have to maintain the family life. You can't be completely fearless. You can become fearless if you are in knowledge. If in grihastha life, if in householder life, if you are actually reading scriptures, if you are actually constantly reading and discussing it with your partners or with other people and progressing in knowledge, then automatically after your household life, at certain stage in your life, you will become detached. Both people will become detached automatically. In Western world, they become detached out of frustration from not getting sense gratification from the other person. In Vedic system, the people become detached because they have lived life to fullest extent, but at the same time cultivating knowledge and realizing that actually we can't go peak in this body. It's just not possible. Body is not designed for this. So where is my source of happiness now? After this body's happiness are vanquishing, teeth is falling, hairs are going away, body is diminishing. How can you find happiness here? So therefore, a spiritualist becomes very peaceful and happy in their heart, because they, in the process of getting knowledge, have found a source of becoming happy beyond body. But those people who have not found a source of becoming happy beyond body, they become very frustrated and grumpy old people. We must have seen such people. Because all of their life they have commanded respect. Now in the old age, no one's willing to give them respect because all their senses have just gone. A devotee becomes peaceful and happy in their old age. And they become happy because they have advanced. Not just bodily advancement, consciousness is advanced. So they become happy. And the problems of the body are diminishing now for them. The urges of having the food, the urges of having... There are other problems of the body which may come. But if their consciousness is elevated, then they become peaceful as a human being and they are becoming advanced, so they are happy. So if young people don't give them respect, they don't become so agitated.
What is poison in the beginning
becomes nectar at the end. Yes, that is 18th chapter. So that is Abhayam is so important. Then I'll read some things from directly the 16th chapter, because Prabhupada is very powerfully mentioning few things which I wanted to read, because mainly I underlined them long ago. So some things that I'm going to read about so Prabhupada is now speaking of Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi. Actually, Sattva Samsuddhir, which is purity of consciousness by prescribed rules. If you follow certain rules, then your consciousness will be purified. And again, this is meant for both Grihasthas, Sannyasis, householders and the renunciants. Then there is Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti, which means cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is specifically important from brahmacharis. Specifically important for anyone who wants to protect their semen. Because knowledge, when semen travels upwards, when you protect it, the semen travels upwards. And it goes into your brain. It gives you teja in your body. It gives you immense amount of effulgence if you have protected it well. And suddenly you will see your vision, your clarity in thinking is like triplicate, multiplicate. You can't understand. The clarity of your thoughts is so much high if you just protect this one thing. And then what happens? Your memory increases just by protecting your semen. So for brahmacharya, this cultivation of spiritual knowledge is extremely crucially important, because brahmacharya means protecting semen. And similarly, it's not just for men, for ladies also. If they avoid channelizing their energy in all directions, but channelize their energy either to their husbands or to Krishna, then there is a perfection for them. Their chastity increases and their power increases. A chaste woman can actually control the entire creation. There are many examples in the history where chaste women actually brought back their husbands from the mouth of superintendent of death. And, Shakuntala is one more chaste woman whose husband was a king. And, when they met, they had married, they got married, and they met in the forest. King had to go back to his kingdom. And after that, the Shakuntala had a son. And when Shakuntala came back to king after many years, when his son had grown up a little bit, she was in the ashram she was living with a Muni at that time. So when she came back to the king, Dushmanta, then, Dushmanta said, I don't remember you. It's interesting, right? You get married, you have sex, and then you have a son, and, they are living in hospital. And then when they come back to you, just give up the responsibility. King said, I don't remember you, because king was afraid of possibly existing queens or whatever. Then Shakuntala was so chaste that the voice came from the sky. When you are so powerful, then the whole creation is wanting to help you. And all Shakuntala did was, Shakuntala was living with one Muni, I forgot his name, and she cultivated chastity. She was pure in her existence. Although Shakuntala was one of the daughter of heavenly planets, of Apsaras. Apsaras, or heavenly damsels, they are not so pure. They enjoy with many men. Shakuntala was daughter of one of them. But because she had the perfect association, she became extremely chaste, so chaste that even the heavens were willing to speak for her. And the heavens literally told Dushmanta that you have to take charge of your son. It is your son. And the son was a glorious king, Bharata, on whose name, the word Bharat for India came. So it's powerful to know that if you have cultivate knowledge, if you protect your chastity, if similarly men protects, they remain focused in their lives, then the amount of growth, the amount of progress they can get is tremendous. So Prabhupada says that if he is, for a sannyasi, Prabhupada says if he is actually advanced and so ordered by spiritual master, he should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. A sannyasi should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. Then Prabhupada says, and if one is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. If you have not cultivating knowledge, if from householder life, if you want to go to a retired life, you must cultivate knowledge. Otherwise, you will be stuck in your householder life. And in retired life, after retired life, which is vanaprastha, if you want to further progress into sannyas ashram, then knowledge is absolutely must. Otherwise, Prabhupada says, don't take, remain householder if you don't want to cultivate knowledge. Because
science is knowledge, right? So knowledge is something you've got to cultivate. So how these scientists, they got to do it scientifically, you can't speculate, then it's not knowledge.
That's not knowledge.
Bhagavad Gita is saying this sabda, absolute truth, but they're saying the exact opposite.
Yeah.
They're saying that if you don't partake in this activity, you're going to go crazy.
Whatever they say is their purview, not according to Bhagavad Gita.
It's science, then there has to be some backing.
Yeah, for a lot of it is propaganda, some of it is not, because some of it is done properly. Krishna explains the process of doing something, and if they follow the process, then they get decent results out.
That's an exact opposite. That's the money.
Yeah, there is deduction and there is induction. So we go by the route of induction, that we have a parampara and they have told us, now let us experiment on whatever knowledge they have given to us, and we will, by that knowledge, we will develop further knowledge, and that is becoming parampara, which is what PhD system is also. You refer back, but then in PhD system, you are also allowed to critique others and completely dismantle, because the person you're critiquing is not perfect. Therefore, it could be the case that their knowledge is imperfect. But then there is another category of scientists who want to just say that, okay, we will do everything. We don't believe anything that you're saying. So we'll put forward, we'll start everything from scratch. We will redo everything, and we will just dismantle the Vedic knowledge, which is already given. That is demoniac.
Even in the schools in current day, they want to teach this stuff. Here is clearly saying this is not important. Change is like this, don't partake, simple life. And this side is saying, no, you should actively
take that. Yeah. That's why the modern education is demonic, and Prabhupada said, go to gurukuls. Okay, so then for a sannyasi, it's also said if one who is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. But even if one has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, so now you are a sannyasi, but you don't have enough knowledge. Okay. He should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Fully. To cultivate knowledge. Not saying that ISKCON sannyasis are not in knowledge. They are in absolute knowledge. But yet, I have seen a lot of sannyasis, they hear Prabhupada every single day for like fixed number of hours. That is their daily sadhana. It doesn't mean that they are best of the most knowledgeable people. And then for a householder, they should earn livelihood by an honorable means and spend 50% of their income to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. When I say this statement, it is not very justified, because I myself am not using 50% of my income to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. I should be doing that too. But I hope I can do that.
The result, the reason for it is to free from the karma, right? That's the reason. Otherwise, you don't overcome.
No, it's the purpose of charity. Dhanam is what we are listening. For grihasthas, dhanam is most important. Charity, the grihastha who doesn't do charity is in trouble, because he's not repaying back to anyone.
What you spend on your own mission, so for instance, traveling.
Yes, it does. So, it includes everything, that will help you to become Krishna conscious. That may not include iPhone 16 or iPhone 20. And because you give a reason that by getting iPhone 20, I'll be able to see this image of Krishna a little bit better, in high definition. That violates the principle of simplicity. So it's very fine. And someone who is a novice can easily take the statements of scripture and blow it out of the water. Then there is dham or self-control, and this is for householder specifically mentioned. Although he has a wife, a householder should not use his senses for sex life unnecessarily. There are restrictions for householders even in the sex life, which should only be engaged in for propagation of children. If he does not require children, he should not enjoy sex life with his wife. Modern society enjoys sex life with contraceptive methods or more abominable methods to avoid the responsibility of children. This is the norm of the modern day. You know, the women and men, they have relationship for many years. They have a sexual relationship for many years. They make sure they take contraceptive pills and whatnots. But that is not recommended. It is demoniac. If you want to engage in sex life, get married and have children. Then take responsibility of children and take responsibility of the wife.
They'll argue that it's not better than abortion.
There is no concept of abortion. That is killing. There is no abort. The word abort, it literally means killing, because the soul was allocated when the moment you decided to have the activity. It says karmana deva netrena. There are many couples who are trying to have children. They do activity every time under guidance, but the children do not happen. And not just devotees, there are karmi people, who have destroyed their womb so badly that they can't have any children anymore. Why? Contraceptive pills and all these things. It's not helping anyone. Even the women, mentally, they become disturbed, because of this. You have a question on this?
Did you say the soul is allocated as soon as you consider?
As soon as you want to consider having an activity, a soul is allocated. Because semen is supposed to be, when it meets, a soul is entered there. Then it gets a shape. So then, if you then kill, or by contraceptive means, that means you've already taken the heavy ugra karma of killing a child. So it's very, very, very dangerous.
It's subtle in consciousness even before.
Even before. It's already, when you decide, that time only the soul is. And what consciousness you decided, the type of the soul is matched. That's why they say, you be in association of saintly people. Take guidance from them even before having child. That's when the child with the divine qualities will be born. Okay, so yes, Prabhuji.
A couple of I've noticed in there it says like because I was thinking is it divine.
Divine. Oh, sorry, my spelling mistake. Oh, you can find a good even amongst mistakes. They divine. Yeah, they mind. Oh my God, who is here? I have got my preceptor is here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please carry on. You're having fun.
Sorry, Rosie. I'm just finishing hopefully the class, and then hopefully I'll get your darshan. You're here for some time?
Until this evening, going out to party with the Russians.
Oh, nice. Hare Krishna.
There's a big thing in Trafalgar Square today. Sorry? The big party in Trafalgar Square. Oh, Diwali in the square. Oh, right. Okay. So you want to be around if it works out. Let's see how it works out. Okay, please, you carry on. Don't let me escape you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So,
So we had Trimanganand Prabhu here. He's one of my early day mentors. He helped me when I was back in Manchester.
The other thing I was going to ask
yes.
you, in parentheses, it has according to Varna and
Ashram, yes, according to Varna and Ashram. So this Abhayam, you can't be fully fearless in your householder life. A brahmachari is supposed to be a little bit more fearless than a householder, because they have no attachments, nothing, they have no responsibilities for any soul. So, but for sannyasis, they have to be, so, the householders, they have to do this jnana yoga vyavasthiti. They must cultivate knowledge also, but for brahmacharis is especially important, because they have no other engagements. If they don't even do this, then without knowledge, their mind will just flicker away. And sattva shuddhi is purity of consciousness. It starts with ahara shuddhi. Ahara shuddhi means your food that you are intaking. And for grihasthas, it becomes more important. Like, what we eat as grihasthas, because grihasthas have more opportunity to sense gratify. Right? We can just go to the shop and just buy. A brahmachari might have to ask a temple commander for some money. if they don't have a bank account, it is more troublesome to get them what their mind desires. But for a grihastha, just Tesco's down the street, all in invalid, just pick up what you like and you just eat your mind. So then it corrupts our consciousness. Therefore, we have to eat prasad.
So with this soul allocation thing, like from the karmis, I'm thinking, like guys have a tendency towards pretty women, women have a tendency towards rich guys.
Yes.
It's not worth it because it just shows the soul that is allocated. If you're doing it on a materialistic level, good luck with the kids that you're going to get. Then
Yeah,
you can't complain.
You are going to get kids on the consciousness that you were in when you desire to have the activity. What is that verse that Krishna says? Yad yad vapi smaran bhavam tyajate antakale varam. That at the time of death, tyajate means to give up, tyajan. Anta, at the end, kalevar means this body, kalevar means a dressing, literally kalevar means dressing. And so he says at the end moment when you are about to give up your kalevar, your dressing, whatever you remember at that time, you will get that. So there are certain moments in life which are powerful moments in life. And whatever your consciousness and the consciousness of you at that point in time is the culmination of consciousness that you have cultivated throughout your life. So if two people get married, rich girl, poor girl, rich guy, bad guy, good guy, it doesn't matter. When they actually come together, then there is always their combined karma. There is never their individual karma. So the children are actually combination of both of their karmas. So essentially that soul which matches the combination is allocated to them. And if they don't have any karma for a child, then they don't get a child. And no soul gets allocated. And then they keep trying for many years. They keep doing the activities, on a full moon night, this night, there is no child. And the purpose of married life is to have children. If you don't want to have children, don't get married. I remember okay, I should not go into my personal life. The problem is, a lot of people, they just want to be devotees and they don't want to get children. They just want to stay in Mayapur and holy places, but they don't want to take responsibility of children. Then you should not get married. Varna ashram is very clear about a responsibility of a householder is to have this activity for Krishna and get children. Those grihasthas say, oh, I will have only one child. Oh, I have got too many services to do. I have a transcendental service to do. Okay, we don't know necessarily whether their consciousness is transcendental even after coming in the temple and doing all the temple activities. But if they just follow their natural injunctions of the scriptures, that if you have an urge, then you just come together, pray to the Lord, have a child, and then take responsibility of the child. Taking responsibility of the child is not easy thing. Therefore, they don't want to have child. They want to preach, they want to cook, they want to do everything else. I'm not saying for preachers. Some are very elevated preachers. So I'm, just putting that point here. Some preachers are very, very elevated. They don't have a need for children. And, but that is an extreme case. It should not be generalized. Like for women, it is said that they should get married. Because women, they like to have associations. So someone is remaining unmarried. Now, we are not saying that they should be forced into marriage. Well, someone is incompatible. They can't find a person according to their mental frequency. It's okay for them to remain unmarried because they just can't find the right person. But for general mass of population, that's not. So there is always the general sense, but there is always specific type of people. And there are specific injunctions for specific cases. So, it is not recommended that general grihasthas, they say, oh, no, I'm fully devoted, engaged in Krishna's life. And then, I'm not going to have children. Well, if you don't do children, then you will see what are the side effects of not having children in some time. So this is what Shastra mentions that
scientific. You can't complain half.
No, there will be reactions. Simple. If you don't follow the scriptures, there will be reactions. So brahmachari should have no connection with women. Full stop. In Western world, brahmacharis are allowed to talk with ladies. But in classical Vedic system, brahmachari should not speak to ladies. Full stop. When Prabhupada has used the word connection, Connection means emotional connections, you know. They should not have it.
Even here, it's only for service and books, right? No other-
Yes, exactly. That is for service. Then there is austerity, tapas, or austerity is especially meant for retired life. Generally, in the Western conception, people want to make money to retire. How many of you here are making money to retire early? Yes. So that at least in your retirement, you can have peaceful time. Because all of your life, we have slogged like 10 hours, 12 hours at jobs. I don't know about you all. You know, I am sometimes working like a donkey.
Sorry,
So
can
sometimes
I-
I think, yes. Harini, Mataji?
What about like if what about if we ask a couple get married and they realize that they cannot have children, that the woman cannot have children, for example, what do they do in that case? They
Yeah.
get divorced from like
No,
you know?
there is no conception of divorce in Vedic system. Once someone's married, they are married. There is no divorce. There is nothing like a divorce. You know, they have to take responsibility. The husband has to suffer and the wife has to suffer. Whether it's wife's karma or husband's karma, both have to suffer each other's karma. However, the modern system is very complex. And there are certain places in scriptures that, you know, if the husband is killing his wife or, you know, beating the wife, then it's written that the wife can voluntarily give up association of the man. There are, you know, Shastra is not like a blanket call. There are clear-cut directions as to what you should be doing in certain situations. If a lady cannot have child, that doesn't mean that the husband and wife become divorced. You know, they can still adopt a child by which they will get pious karma, but you know, it's best to you know, bear your karma, burn your mind in fire and anger, but in that fire and anger, develop love for the Supreme Lord and refocus your mind into something which is constructive. Yes, Brandon Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry, more specifics, but just wondering. So if a couple, Grihastha couple, they decided to foster a child where they're technically not their own child, but they're looking. Maybe they might be able to have children, but they decide to foster or adopt according to maybe, you know, prayer and guidance. Would you still get karmic reactions because you haven't actually conceived your own child?
Yeah, if you have a womb which can actually bear the child, then the womb should bear the child.
Wow.
Because it's been facilitated by material nature. It has been facilitated, it has been ordained, then you should have the child yourself. If you just simply you know, foster someone for the sake of it, you will take karma of the person you are fostering, and they can be coming from any background.
Could I ask a question about this?
Yes. Yes, Mataji.
Well, it's two questions actually, sorry.
Go ahead.
One thing is, what about overpopulation in the
Hmm.
world? And the other thing is, surely because there are so many unwanted children in the world who end up in, you know, the care system, whatever, isn't it a compassionate act to adopt?
It is definitely a compassionate act according to scriptures to adopt someone. You know, if someone is a devotee, then the adoption, and if they can give that incoming person a devotional environment and make them a devotee, that is the highest. But if you are not a devotee, if you are just situated in your ordinary consciousness, and if you want to just adopt, you're basically taking karma of someone else from some background which is unknown. So basically, you are going to burn yourself with that karma. As long as you are willing to take responsibility of someone else's karma, which a soul which has been wandering for many lifetimes and possibly have no desire to go anywhere, and you yourself don't have any knowledge of going to the perfect source, but you only want to enjoy this material world. So then basically you tie up the karma of the two people, and you know, while in the eyes of the general people, general populace, you have done a great work, you know, like adopting someone. And indeed, you know, you will get some benefits karmically of that, but you will get both the drawbacks as well as the good of that, because you are joining the karma of some unknown soul in your own karma.
Fascinating.
So what was your second question, Mataji?
It was about overpopulation in the world.
Yes. So overpopulation, the problem is not with the overpopulation. The problem is with unwanted overpopulation. When Krishna was here, there were huge numbers of people. Like the numbers mentioned are trillions and quadrillions. So the point is, you can have lot of people, and if Krishna is pleased, then the Mother Earth provides like crazy amounts of food. Even now, I've never done farming so much, but recently when I went to the field, I saw them just throwing potatoes like that. And from one potato, there were so many potatoes coming out. Like one small seed, but so many gains. So I was just thinking that, oh my God, this is unlimited potency in every single small seed in a say a tomato, like a sweet tomato that we get. My son went to the garden, like he's 2.5 years old. He doesn't even know farming. He went to the garden, he eats these sweet tomatoes, chews them, throws them anywhere. So he went to my garden, and his sister explained that, you have to take the seeds out and you have to throw. So he started throwing them in my garden. And suddenly I'm seeing now there are tomato plants in my garden. So many tomatoes. So now the point is that there is no problem with overpopulation, because material nature is designed to provide you more than what you need. But the problem is with unwanted overpopulation, which is where the people, the children, they are just given birth because of the sexual desire. And when there is, and even if someone is given birth just out of sexual desire, but there are no parents to take responsibility of them, no culturing of their intellect, no culturing of their brain, no God consciousness, that is the unwanted population. So that unwanted population, like Mother Earth can't even tolerate the burden of one extra person. One person who is not a truthful person, a dishonest person, a person who is an unwanted, like tortures, harasses other people. So that those people become unwanted and they become heavy burden on Mother Earth. And that's when you will find problems of famine. Seen that famines and not famine, famines, and then wars, and their irregular climate. These are just side effects of unwanted population. An unwanted population will engage in ghastly activities. One of them is cow killing. And cow killing is the root source of wars in the world. Till the time cow killing doesn't stop, none of these wars will stop. It won't stop. So, they have to stop cow killing, because there's the grossest, because cow represents, bull represents dharma. And cow is also related to dharma. So, till the time people are continuing to kill cows, the wars will not be stopped. And there is no problem with overpopulation. People can have children, but they have to be taken responsibility. They have to given God consciousness. And, if they just have children and, just for the sake of it and more children, that's when the problem starts.
Surrogacy is demoniac.
Surrogacy is demoniac if the natural womb is available. Surrogacy is non-demonic if natural womb is not available and someone's, doing it for higher purpose. They have a purpose for the child, coming child. Nowadays, then soon there will be a fashion that people will basically have children from the labs, and they will choose what should be the eye color of my son, whether the hair should be curly. Yeah, design the babies. It's happening. It will happen very fast now in future.
What happens in that situation? Because all of those things are supposed to be karma, right?
Yes.
So if you then choose those things, what is the result of the child?
The soul will come. You are just choosing an external features of the child. Any soul which matches, when you choose an external feature of a child, then there will be some good things because of those external features, and there will be some bad things. People think that who are very beautiful, those women, those men who are very beautiful will always have good lives, or they will always have nice situations. It's not true. Those people who are exquisitely beautiful, they have very horrendous lives. They have troublesome lives. Many people are after them. They don't get peace of mind. There's too many troubles. So the problem is, we think that in our calculations, certain features may be good, but then whatever side reactions are going to come for those features are going to come. They are not going to, but just the soul will be matched, who has to experience that good and bad.
Like if I want to be a pop star, people die.
Yeah. Okay, so we are very slow. I need to speed up now. So then there is tapasya or austerity, especially meant for retired life. So retired life, you must do austerity. Nowadays, we want to make more money so that in retired life, we can take rest. So retired life is not meant for resting. Prabhupada, when he retired, he became even more active, like even more active. And, he launched this war against Mayavadis through writing Bhagavad Gita. So he's starting a war when he became retired. He's undertaking even a bigger thing. So retirement is meant for tapasya, austerity. And a man retired from household life must practice austerities of body, mind, and tongue. In fact, in the old age, the tongue becomes even more uncontrollable because you want to eat and your body is not allowing you to eat, because if you eat extra sugar, there is diabetes problem. If you eat too much salt, there is another problem, creatinine problem, this problem, that problem. So doctors constrain you. Your wife is trying to constrain you. Everyone wants to constrain you from not eating certain. And because your mind is so artificially pushed from not eating that, the mind wants the same thing more and more. When minds wants the same thing more and more, that is the diseased condition of life.
You guys in the hospital.
Yes. Yes. So essentially, you have to, so to be able to control tongue in your old age, you have to be able to control tongue now. Nothing happens tomorrow. If it is going to happen tomorrow, it must happen now. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So therefore, this system of controlling tongue from throughout your age, Yeah, grumpy old man. Grumpy old man. Because you can't get food in time, so your belly is not, if belly is full, your mind is not satisfied. Oh, if only I had that little bit salt in that sabji, my thirst for that salt would have gone. Because the body troubles you. It's not just mind. The body troubles you. Sometimes your body asks for salt. And you can't get that salt. You wanted to eat salty pasta, but the pasta was sweet. And your mind is going to torture you. Okay. So then Prabhupada also is mentioning, as far as Brahminical qualities of simplicity is concerned, not only should a particular order of life follow this principle, but every member, be he a brahmachari ashram, grihastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, or sannyasa ashram, one should be very simple and straightforward. Simple and straightforward. People are generally not straightforward when they have different masks. When they have different masks, then it becomes very difficult for them to be straightforward. Because then they're going to say one thing to one type of personalities, and then they're going to say another thing to another type. And generally it happens to people who are highly social people. They want stamps from everyone that yes, I'm approved by you, and I'm good for your social gathering, your social community. So I'm happy to behave the way the community behaves. So to get the stamping, you behave according to what different people behave. This is where you lose your simplicity.
So that becomes
Duplicity. Real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life. Prabhupada is saying. Real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life. If someone's progressing and you are very envious, oh, he's made a big Mercedes Benz for himself and I'm his neighbor and I'm not able to make it. And you're always trying to some or other. If you can't do something physically, you will say something bad about them from behind. Oh, yeah, he steals. He sells some nasty stuff online. He's just, charlatan guy. He doesn't know the stuff. But, somehow he's lucky. He's fortunate. He's lucky enough. It's envy speaking. So, and similarly for devotees, if we are checking someone's progressive life, then we are being violent to them. Satyam, this word means that one should not distort the truth for some personal interest. So speaking truth half is lie, and not putting complete information in correct perspective and correct context is lie again. You have a question, Madhuri?
Yeah, because sometimes the truthfulness as you see it is just you wanting to put your opinions across, and you can create so much drama by doing
Yes.
that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when you hold back sometimes. such a bad thing?
No, holding back is not a bad thing. But see, Krishna's devotees are not the people who will always be say truthful in the sense of morals and principles and values. But morals and principles of values according to scripture, yes, they will be truthful. According to what Krishna desires, yes, they will be truthful. Common example is Yudhishthir Maharaj, right? Yudhishthir Maharaj is the religion personified, dharma. So he is religion personified, and religion says that you should not be dishonest. You should not lie. So when in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna told that, you know, you are going to lose the battle now until unless you conquer this Dronacharya. Dronacharya was the teacher of all the Pandavas. So, you know, he was voracious killer. And until unless you conquered him, there is no way that the Pandavas would win the battle of Kurukshetra. So there was one occasion when Krishna told Yudhishthir that you tell to Dronacharya that Ashwathama has died. Ashwathama was his son. His son's name was Ashwathama. Ashwathama in Sanskrit also means elephant. So Krishna was telling Yudhishthir, who happens to be Dharmaraj, and he specifically chose Yudhishthir to say it because everyone in the world knew that Yudhishthir will never lie. Because he's this righteous person. You know, you have these kinds of people who are righteous and they will not lie under any circumstance. So Krishna specifically told Yudhishthir, go and tell that, you know, Ashwathama has died. And Yudhishthir wanted to not lie. He said, okay, I'm not going to lie. Then Krishna told him Ashwathama means elephant. So you just go and tell you just have to say Ashwathama died, Ashwathama died. That's all you have to say. You don't have to say Ashwathama, your son has died. So it's, you know, partial truth, half truth, right? So Yudhishthir was very reluctant to say this half truth on behalf of Krishna. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is asking him to say this. So now imagine his situation. According to you, what is right, what is wrong in this situation? What do you think is right and what do you think is wrong?
It's still a lie, but
It's-
Krishna's direction.
So God asks you to lie, where he says that these are the moral codes of conduct. You shouldn't lie.
It's an instruction directly from him.
So Krishna can overrule his instructions.
What's that?
Krishna can overrule his instructions. Yes. Okay. So okay. So any other thoughts?
You said not say half truth, and what was the other one?
Not giving correct context or perspective is also sometimes it is construed as lying.
That's what the conservatives used to say. We don't tell lies, we just economically with the truth.
Wonderful. Yeah. So here the situation is, because Yudhishthir Maharaj didn't follow the instructions of Krishna when actually he left the body, he had to see the hellish planets. Yudhishthir Maharaj didn't go straight back home, back to Godhead. He was first taken to hellish planets. And he was there thinking, oh my God, what have I done wrong? Have I not followed dharma in my life? I am the son of dharma, religious personified. Have I not followed religion in my life? And Yudhishthir Maharaj was examined at all points in his life by his own father, Dharma. His father constantly put exams for him, tests, like you all have tests for Bhagavad Gita. His father designed various tests at various points in time in his life. And Yudhishthir always passed all the tests with flying colors. Yet, at the end of his life, he had to see hellish planets. And that's when he thinks to himself and he asks, oh Krishna, why? And Krishna said to him at that point in time, because you didn't protect dharma. Because he didn't follow what Krishna said. But dharmam tu sakshat bhagvat pranitam. Narad Muni is saying that dharma, like if you have to understand dharma in person, if you can see dharma like literally, then the actual dharma is seeing Krishna directly. Dharmam tu sakshat. Sakshat means indirect, directly. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagvat pranitam. Bhagvat means Bhagwan. Pranitam means that he is actually the owner of the dharma. So Krishna says that sometimes you might have to use adharma to protect dharma when the other side is using adharma. So if Yudhishthir didn't say, but Yudhishthir was hell-bent in this morality crisis. So therefore, the difference between a righteous person or a moralist and a devotee is devotee always follows the scriptures and Krishna. They are willing to change their personalities for Krishna. A moralist is reluctant to change their personality for Krishna.
So Yudhishthir didn't say it. So who said it?
Yudhishthir was reluctant to say it.
He said it.
He said it, but he was so reluctant. And in some places it said that Yudhishthir said, Ashwathama, your son, Ashwathama the elephant died. Because of his reluctance to honor the orders of the Supreme Lord.
Even for reluctance, even though he said it, he still went.
Yeah, he had to say this. Because he just denounced Krishna basically in that moment. And the reason he denounced is because of this, his false understanding that dharma is the most important. But who dharma comes from? Krishna. Who is the proprietor of the dharma? Proprietor of the dharma is Krishna. And if the proprietor is saying that do this at this point in time, then there must be a reason beyond my understanding, beyond my conception, beyond my existence.
And one could say Yudhishthir Maharaj has to go for such a minor impediment. What chance have we got?
Yes, but Yudhishthir Maharaj has to say because he was the pure devotee of the Lord. And Krishna only gives the right small amount of dose so that the person understands what the problem is. Yudhishthir then went back home. But the point is he had to see the hellish planets. Okay, so moving further, we have only are in first 3 to 4 verses. We are already at 12:30. So Prabhupada says, Re means that one should be very modest and one must not perform some act which is abominable. Achapalam, meaning determination. Achapalam, determination, means that one should not be agitated or frustrated in some attempt. So if you are failing in some attempt, you should not be agitated or frustrated. You should be with peaceful mind. You should be determined to do this. He says about the word Tejas, the Kshatriyas should always be very strong to be able to give protection to the weak. They should not pose themselves as non-violent. A Kshatriya who doesn't do violence is not a Kshatriya. A fighter, a warrior who doesn't do violence is not a warrior. You know, when a situation calls for a violence and the warrior says, okay, you know, we will not do violence. You kill these innocent people. I will not do violence because now I am Buddhist. Non-violence. The Buddhists of Sri Lanka are quoting Bhagavad Gita now because they realize that Muslims are killing them in Sri Lanka. Some very famous Buddhist in Sri Lanka said that, you know, Krishna said this in Bhagavad Gita. Because Krishna is practical. Krishna is saying you can't be non-violent when someone is coming to kill you unnecessarily. So a Kshatriya who doesn't do his moral duty of protecting others, an administrator who doesn't do the duty of administering others, they are doing disservice. So they are not following their dharma. So Prabhupada says they should not pose themselves as non-violent. If violence is required, they must exhibit it. But a person who is able to curb down his enemy may, under certain conditions, show forgiveness. So the quality of forgiveness is there towards the enemy. It's not that you have to be brutal and, you know, like a not good human being. If the offense, if they may excuse minor offenses can be excused. But, you know, if your enemy is coming and killing innocent children, raping women, and you are just standing there and saying, oh, no, non-violence, I'm Buddhist. You know, they will come and they will destroy you completely. That's how many civilizations have gone. So at the time when the fight is needed, you must fight.
Prabhupada didn't advocate for Gandhiji.
No. Yes, Prabhuji.
I'm just wondering if there's something about this word violence, because ahimsa we defined it as not interrupting somebody's progressive life.
Progressive lives.
So when the Kshatriyas are being violent necessarily, would you say, it's not that they're interrupting the progress. They're not violent in that sense.
They are not violent. They are not checking the progress of someone else's life because that someone else was about to do a dharma or irreligious activity which would have checked the progress of other people's lives. So he's preventing someone, artificially preventing progress of someone else's life. So that's why they don't get any negative reactions. In fact, they attain heavenly planets because they've laid down their lives for protecting, the soldiers. That's why we respect soldiers. If you are a soldier of a country who is righteous, fighting for a right cause, then the soldiers who die on the battlefield have a very glorious next destination because they have fought for dharma. But if you are a soldier who is fighting for a country where the country is fighting for wrong cause, then your next destination is not good. Therefore, before actually some country begins wars, they find out, if they try to create a situation in which their enemy has done something wrong. Till the time they find that right moment when enemy has done something, they don't want to attack. Because what is going to happen? The morale of the soldiers is going to go down. The soldiers, midway, they will become tired because they will know in their hearts. Because look, when you are about to die, when you are fighting someone, then your mind is very clear. You don't lay down your life for nothing. You are thinking in your heart, yeah, this person, he started the war. Now he's asking me to kill this innocent people. I don't even want to kill that child. They are thinking in their mind. They are conscious human beings. And when they have this kind of negative thought in their heart, their morale is already gone. They have already lost the battle. Then the battle is with machines, not with a consciousness. But those soldiers who are clear, I have never attacked anyone's motherland. To protect my motherland is to protect the children and women and elderly people who are living in this land. And I must do my dharma. I must lay down my life. They are very clear in their mind and consciousness. They are fully directed with their full energies, and they can fight with double the strength. So these are the 26 qualities. I have not gone through everything. One of them is aversion to fault finding. So you should not find fault unnecessarily in people. Also, you can not criticize person unnecessarily. You can criticize the person if you have been given the position to correct them. If you don't have a position to correct them, then there is no point criticizing or saying something. You will get a karma. Okay, so we'll take 5 minutes break. I literally have 5 minutes. After that, I'm going to rush through the remaining chapter. In the meantime, if online anyone has questions, you may ask.
It's not directly related to the Bhagavad Gita, but just, I guess, human man to man or human to man.
Okay, soul to soul.
Yeah, because I'm not even sure how to frame it, so I'm just going to put that aside and just say it anyway. But you mentioned there about your situation as a householder, and that you 95% is about survival. Who's going to pay the bills?
Yes.
So my question is, when we looked at your Vedic astrology, because, and this is just it's an inquiry for me. When I go to the job center, it's like they're telling me you need to start applying for jobs. And I read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhu said this is the profession of dogs, to go begging to another master.
Yeah.
So I think you understand.
I understand
the question. But,
I understand it. Yeah.
yeah. So I just wondered, as a devotee, you practicing Krishna consciousness. How does that?
Yeah, no, it's true. When you go out for a job, you're basically going out looking for a master, who can pay you, and so that you can just fulfill your material needs, paying the bills, food, some sense gratification, traveling to different places like that. And the thing is that over a period of time, devotees do become conscious of not wanting to work for another master, because another masters, they have their own faults, and sometimes the servant is not even at fault, but the master is still going to chastise the servant. And guaranteed, the masters of the material world will have their own limitations. So which means the servants get chastised unnecessarily. So it's not a very comfortable situation to be in. But a grihastha who abstains from doing their moral duty is to provide for children, put the table on the food, give them clothes, shelter. And in that situation, they should become Krishna conscious. At least for a devotee, if the children can be raised in Krishna conscious fashion, then that, it's all worth it. Otherwise, it's too much of a pain, Prabhu. Why do you want to go to, you can easily manage your single self without even having to do any of these things. How much food you need in a day? And as your age progresses, you possibly might need only once a day you need food. And then you can just live, survive.
But I think what I'm also looking at there is if you were talking to somebody about Krishna consciousness, like there was a lady came to the questions and answers the other day, and we looked at her chart. I said Brahmana, and she's like an accountant. And there's a part of me was like, actually, your situation, according to your thing, would say that it's not compatible for you to be in a paid
paid Shudra job.
Yes.
It's a Shudra job she's doing.
But
she's a Brahmana by her chart.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have to understand that astrological charts and the Varnas which are mentioned, they are your Varna from your Prarabdha Karma, which means for previous lives. And in this life, you retain those qualities, but because you're not choosing to do those qualities again in your work, you're choosing to do some other kind of activities, you're basically not synchronizing with those qualities. So what happens? Two things happen. In your young age, if you are young and you become frustrated as a person, right? You become frustrated as a person because you actually designed to do something, you're doing something else. But if you are grown up, then you transcend some of those Varna impacts, because now your consciousness is fully aware. You have reasonings of doing certain activities. Even if you're not a devotee, if you ask someone who has been in the same job for like 10, 15, 20 years, they hated it every single day. Nonetheless, they did it because now it's a chore for them. And with that, they can get their booze. They can pay the bills and they can get the booze, the tennis club, and everyone's happy for them. So the same job doesn't disturb them so much as it would have been when they were youth. So everything changes when your consciousness expands. That's why the whole Vedic system is expansion of consciousness. And I told you that till 25 years of age, I myself don't remember exactly how I existed. I had no pains in the body. And I was just grateful to the Lord that he just managed me somehow. And the moment he gave the car keys back to me, it's a problem, left, right, signal problem. You become responsible. You become suddenly aware. You're knowing everything. You're responsible for other people. You're responsible for this. And then you know how you are limited. But because your consciousness is now expanded, you choose what your Varna is. You choose whether you want to act as a Brahmana. You choose whether you want to act. And then you choose certain activities of the specific Varna. So you go, for example, you're a Brahmana, you go to a Shudra job, it doesn't give you any satisfaction or fulfillment. So you come back home and you start reading scriptures. If you are a Shudra and into music, you come back home, you do Kirtan for the Lord, like that. So you have to dovetail, and that capacity to dovetail increases by age. Because then you have opportunity to choose your Varna by your actual consciousness. In youth, you still have problems. That's why young people are very unsettled, because their consciousness has not expanded. They are still in a fit body. Fit body with strong senses means your mind can make you think so many things which are not true in their nature. It's a verse in Bhagavatam. It says, Drishtam Shrutam Sadbuddha Nanu Dhyayenna Sandhishet, that whatever you see and whatever you hear, drishtam, shrutam, asad buddhva. You may feel that that is real, but actually in reality, it's a reflection, it's a perception thrown by mind. Because in real nature, it is asat. It's coming from your impure intelligence, buddha. Asat buddha, nanu dhyayen na sandishet. Don't meditate on it. Don't think about it too much. Like if you're seeing someone walking naked on the street and you are really wanting to have that kind of enjoyment, but you're also practicing devotee, then it says, okay, don't meditate on it. There is no point. Nanu dhyayen na sandishet. Don't think about it. Don't meditate on it. Because actually the moment that sense gratification comes in front of you, the mind projects and increases the size of the enjoyment dramatically. In reality, there is no enjoyment. But because the perception of the mind because mind is conditioned to such kinds of different types of enjoyments. So mind projects in such high levels that, yeah, it's a prospect for you to fulfill your unfulfilled desires. So the perception given in Srimad Bhagavatam is drishtam shrutam asad buddhva nanu dhyayen nasan. Don't think about it. Don't meditate on it. Why? Because it says samsmritim cha atmanasham cha. He says that it will bring you back in samsmriti, in samsara cycle. Because you have now meditated on something impermanent, false, it will bring you back into this same cycle where everyone else is trying to do the same thing, impermanent and falsehoods. And atma nasham cha, atma soul degradation, nasham cha. And tattva samsmritim cha atma nasham cha, tatra vidvan sa atma drik. So someone who calls himself vidvan, with means knowledge, van means possessor of the knowledge, someone who calls himself vidvan, that person should never meditate on any of falsehoods. Otherwise, they will come back into this cycle. And they cannot be technically called as Vidwan. Because they have the knowledge. They have memorized the verses. They are giving the classes. But in reality, what's happening? That only Krishna can see. So they are not Vidwan. And therefore, there is one thing and then there is practice. Prabhupada also says that in this chapter, he says, specifically in this verse, he's saying, one should perform the, wrong. It will come in next upcoming verses that after you have learned the divine and demonic nature, Prabhupada says, apply. He specifies 3 types of people with regards to application. And you will enjoy when you hear that. You will relish it. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, thank you for that. Because even however you did it, it's like, okay, what do you hear there? And I don't hear you defending yourself, trying to justify yourself.
What can I do? I'm stuck. Being dishonest will cause me more problems. Is a reality which I have come to conclusion.
Yeah.
I have to serve the dogs outside. Till the time Krishna makes me free of all of this. If I get because there are devotees who don't have a need to go out on job, and they can still, there are also souls who are more surrendered. They say, okay, from this day onwards I'm not going to eat anything from outside, and they never eat anything from, but some say that this day onwards whatever comes on its own accord I'll accept, otherwise I'll not eat. There are devotees of that. Unfortunately, I'm not that type. So I have to go out to polished dogs. All dogs are dogs, but there are some are polished, some are non-polished. Activities, pedigree dogs.
Which is, it's part of it. If we have an international society of Christian consciousness, they're going to be in all different situations.
That's it.
Some are going to be working, yes.
Yeah.
Some are not going to be working.
Yeah. In youth, you try to fool yourself by saying that, okay, I'm going out, I'll do the job in the real world, and I'll preach to those people, to pacify your mind and make yourself valuable in your head, because every soul wants to be valued. Self-worth, it is called. So net self-worth is something which is a perception of the mind, and every single person, some have very high perception of themselves. And some people have low perception of themselves. Some people, they think that they are very nice in maintaining the balance of their self-worth. They think that, they are very intelligent and I'm maintaining my self-worth. I'm not high, I'm not low, I'm maintaining the middle balance. Krishna breaks all of their illusions. Krishna is three guna atita, transcendental to the modes. So he is going to break their illusions, all categories, and they will realize that it's only binding. Modes are only binding. And whatever we do outside, whether you think you are preaching or not, actually you're preaching to yourself. Those people who realize this, they are called people on the path of self-realization. Those people who think that, oh, I'm already a devotee, I am going out to actually preach to others. They are devotees in a purifying stages, like the other devotees also. Just the knowledge is not there. Okay, we'll begin because we have got a lot of verses to go through. So then, those people who are online, are you back? Okay. Super. Demoniac qualities, Krishna goes further and he says that these demonic qualities, they cause you bondage. Begins with pride. Oh, two people. How do I come out of this? View, admit. Thank you, Malji. Sometimes I don't even, yeah. Ignorance, avidya. Okay, so we begin. These are further descriptions of how the demoniac people think, behave, what is their nature. Krishna is going in depth details because now after Krishna has mentioned the divine qualities, then he is now going to define the asuric qualities. And immediately Arjun will think that he is an asura. So Krishna starts defining that dambho, pride, want to make a show of the religion, and arrogance, pride in one's wealth and education, and abhimanas, conceit, desire to be worshipped by others. And this is also very deep rooted, desire to be worshipped by others. It's a very deep rooted desire in subconsciousness. Everyone wants to be that superstar, whether the music superstar or I forgot the name, who is very famous these days. Yeah, the celebrities essentially, right? Yeah, I forgot. Good, I forgot. There's no need of remembering. So these are all the demoniac krodha, anger, or trifles, harshness. When I was in devotional life in my youth, I was doing Prabhupada Arti, and there was one brahmachari who is now in Ireland. He happened to visit Manchester, and he saw my activities. I was doing my activities with a lot of passion and arrogance combined. Arrogance was not reflected from my words, but it was reflected from my existence, from my bodily posture. The way I was doing, the chest very straight, the face is looking straight, and the way I was doing. And he was at quite few distance from me, and he was telling completely to someone else, this boy is very arrogant. He was telling at quite some distance, and I was doing Prabhupada Arti, but I could hear what he said about me, because everyone wants to be worshipped. Yes, Madhu.
So if we're doing service, Krishna doesn't speak to us directly and say, yeah.
If you were doing service in any other temple, you could have made that statement. If you do in this service in this temple, this is extremely special. Actually, in all temples, wherever your consciousness is, Krishna will reciprocate accordingly. Every time in this temple, I've heard from many devotees, when they are in kitchen, pujari, doing services for Krishna, and they think something bad about any other devotee or something else, their fingers chop, their hands get burned. Very quickly, Krishna wants to tell them, reciprocate with them. Not that Krishna is angry with them, but because we are so dull-headed, until something external stimulus is given onto us, we don't get up. We just don't want to get up. We are just stuck in the routine condition. 5 o'clock I got up, 6 o'clock I drove, 7 o'clock I started cooking. By 7:30 I'm making an offering. We are in this straight route, and there is no emotional connection with Krishna, because activities are going on full speed. Yeah. You can have a perception like that, that, okay, you know, Krishna is trying to tell me something. Or you can just choose, oh, you know, I'm burning my karma. You can have these two views. But as you progress further, you can see how Krishna specifically reciprocates for a specific kind of activity. You know, and then you will understand that what happens. I don't know if I answered your question properly.
So what I was going to say, so but sometimes the feedback from other people is what then you know that we're going to be doing something well. So obviously you're not supposed to be prideful, but you do need a certain level of response. Otherwise, you could be doing such feedback.
Yeah. Feedback is really important because those people who don't take feedback, it's a problem. Nand Baba, who is father of Krishna, takes feedback of Krishna. Nand Baba is preparing to do Govardhan, to do puja of the demigods, and Krishna comes and says, let's not worship demigods, let's worship Govardhan. What father in his Kali Yuga father in his sane mind will listen to a 3-4-year-old boy? Something that he has been doing for such a long, which has been ordained by his forefathers, he is doing every year, suddenly to break that rhythm and listen to your 3-4-year-old boy. This is the quality of Krishna's devotees, that they are willing to listen, and while they are listening to people, they are actually not seeing the person. They are hearing the voice of Krishna. The more you learn this art of hearing Krishna, sometimes it could be that person, and you will know it, that it was the person. But oftentimes it's not the person. It's the feeling that you have contributed to the cosmos, and that feeling is coming in form of feedback through that person. But that same feeling is in Krishna. So, you know, Krishna then tells you the same thing as a feedback. And those devotees who fail to accept feedback, they get the feedback, but they don't take it. Then there is no spiritual progress. In fact, there will be a difficulty in your devotional life. More difficulties coming to you. Therefore, devotees over a period of time, they become very sensitive. If someone gives feedback, they are more wanting to listen, and they are very grateful. Oh, thank you so much for the feedback. Because that essentially means Krishna is telling them something. And so they want to change that immediately. So pride, so this is a pride, and krodha, anger.
And you're more sensitive to knowing whether it's Krishna speaking.
Yes, and that's a very difficult area. Sometimes what happens specifically in, you know, when sometimes the leaders themselves are very young or inexperienced, let me say, young or old doesn't matter, but inexperience or experience matters. So sometimes, and sometimes, you know, leaders, they have heard from other people also. They have gotten feedback from many other people. So that may not be true representation of what you have done or you are doing. So there is always this discrepancy. So they have this term which they say that just swallow it. Right? Just swallow it. Someone is criticizing you for something that you have not done. They are from a position of power and authority, and you know that you have not done anything wrong, but somehow they have perceived that it is wrong because the evidence in front of them could be like that. But actually the intention and actual act, there is difference between intention and actual act. Both could be different. Sometimes both of them for you have not done it by act or by intention, but still you're put in a situation where everyone else thinks that you are wrong. Then it's a very good time to associate with Krishna. Then you can play with Krishna. You know, there is this pastime where someone who Krishna was reciprocating with them, and Krishna said, okay, get onto this tree and steal the mangoes. And the person got on the tree, started to steal the mangoes, and then the people came from the kingdom and they caught hold of him, arrested him, jailed him. And then that person is sitting and crying, Krishna, you are number one cheater. You put me in this situation. Why didn't you tell me that they are coming and Krishna is smiling and this person is crying, and then Krishna takes him out of the jail. Krishna sometimes wants to play because this way your heart becomes soft. Otherwise, our heart is very hard. There is no conversation with God. There is no emotion with God. But God is a person seeking for love. How will you love with him? When you don't speak, if you are a French and you don't speak to the person in French in your natural flavor, how is God going to love you back? So therefore I said, learn Sanskrit in your mother tongue. Whatever your language is, even if you have a dialect like a Mancunian or something, like in London people say Ene, you can memorize varshas, your shlokas like that too. But has to be personal. Has to be with that one-to-one communication with God. So if you are in difficult situation, Krishna is extremely merciful to you because Krishna knows everything. He is seated in everyone's heart as a super soul who has perceived what he has full picture. So that is the solace of a devotee, that they always take shelter of Krishna and they never fail to not take shelter of Krishna. In good situations, you might take less shelter. In bad situation, you are guaranteed to take shelter. You're guaranteed to take shelter. And so anyways, that doesn't mean that we ask for bad situations. But, they say that if in good situations, if you are able to be sincere and, constantly connected, then there is no need for bad situations. The bad situations only come when we are not taking shelter of Krishna. Ajnanam, ignorance, lack of discrimination, whimsical actions. One should perform duties. Okay, this is Prabhupada is telling further. We'll go next. Demoniac behavior continued. They do not know what is to be done, pravrittim, and what is not to be done. Apologies. Here, they do not know what is to be done. What is to be done is nivrittim. I have just reversed it by mistake. So what is to be done is nivrittim. Nivrittim means to stop something. And vritti means progress. If you just remember this word, it will be helpful. Vritti, pravritti and nivritti. There are two terms, but both have common something which is called vritti. Vritti means progress. Pravritti means proper further progress. Nivritti means something that is stopping the progress. So demoniac people don't know how to stop their progress in the material world. They don't know nivritti. Vritti means progress. Nivritti means how to not progress. So the demoniac people don't know how to not progress, in this material world. They only want to progress here in the material world. And they also don't know how to stop the progress of the material world. So basically they have no idea of how to go back home, back to Godhead. Pravritti and nivritti. Anartha nivritti. Anartha means bad things of the heart. Vritti means growth. Nivritti means stunted. Stop it from growing. So anartha nivritti. So to give up is also, so pravritti is the path of progress and nivritti is the path of digress. So progress in material enjoyments is what the demoniac people want. They don't have cleanliness. Shaucham, good behavior. Acharha. Acharha means behavior or truthfulness. Satyam in them. This is a stamp of a demoniac personality. Even amongst devotees, sometimes, in the name of preaching, you are so fired up, you want to preach to 10 million people. And to be able to do that, you are willing to press buttons, push people, and also lie at times. Such preaching does not necessarily always have an impact. It will have the effulgence of masses, but to have an impact, the heart has to be pure and it has to be done right. For Krishna, what's more important is not the outcome, how the outcome was achieved. That's most important. Sincerity of the purpose and how you achieve something. It's not important what you have achieved, but how you have achieved is more important. Their conclusions about this world. This is how demoniac people think, that the world is false, asatyam, without foundation. There is no foundation. It is a big bang. Something blasted and the world came into existence. That's a demoniac thinking. There is no foundation to the world. And they think the world is false also. A lot of the Mayavadis, they feel that the world is false. They tell that the world is false. So when Prabhupada was here, Prabhupada had a sannyasi disciple. I think his name was Achyutananda Swami. And there was this very famous Mayavadi sannyasi at the time of Prabhupada. So this Achyutananda Swami, he was a book distributor. So he went to the camp of this Mayavadi sannyasi because they invited. And so he was doing book distribution there in the camp of Mayavadi sannyasis. Prabhupada's books, which like every second line of Prabhupada's books is destroying Mayavad. So he started to distribute the books. And then once Mayavadi came to, the Achyutananda Swami and told him, why don't you come to our great Swami and ask him some questions? So Achyutananda Swami says, what is there to be asked? Everything is there in Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada says that you take the knowledge as it is, which is there in Bhagavad Gita. You don't have to go to any rascal to understand, get some knowledge. All knowledge is there in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and you just have to take Krishna's words as it is. Just as Krishna is saying, Man mana bhava mad bhakto, mad yaji, offer me obeisances to me, offer your praise to me, become my friend, become my devotee. So just follow that, as simple as that. So they think that the whole world is without foundation, with no God in control. There is no God. This is pure highest form of Mayavad. This is highest form is Buddhism, basically. Buddhism says there is no God. They take all the philosophies of Vaishnav system, but they say that there is no God. Just last week, another girl was asking a question in Q&A session. She was saying that, your soul and my soul are all same. So whatever soul you have, I have the same soul. I said, no, we don't have the same souls. The composition of the soul is the same, but you have a different soul to my soul. Our souls are unique and individual. And then I was trying to explain to her why that is so. If these Buddhists, they say that the souls are unique and souls are individual, all souls are same, and then eventually they are going to merge into super consciousness, then how do they have a concept of reincarnation? Because their lamas keep coming in next birth, right? Dalai Lama is a lama from the previous past. He taken rebirth, and so how they have a concept of reincarnation? So then she said, oh no, when the soul dissipates, when the soul breaks down, then it goes into the super consciousness, and when the person takes birth again, then that information that is dispersed in super consciousness comes and assembles again, and then that person comes into existence again. Then I was trying to explain her that if we have no souls, and if we were just matter, and if we were getting dispersed into the super consciousness, and by general nature, the super consciousness is random. So if energy which mixes into the random, that means information gets lost. By basic definition of randomness, you can't create information out of randomness. Because if something is truly random, then you can't get non-randomness out of randomness. Does that make sense? You can't get something concrete out of something which is truly random. So if you can't get something concrete which is truly random, then if the soul was not there, and if there was just body and chemicals, and if the body and chemicals hold the information of the memories and this pastimes knowledge of previous lifetimes, and if they get dissipated and they are all material and it's all random, then how can they can assemble back and form the non-random human being again? It just doesn't make any sense. Buddhist philosophy. There is no God, we are just chemicals. Karma exists, laws of good and bad. So there is no God in control. So that's, completely bogus. Completely bogus. And with that to say there is reincarnation, it doesn't, it's you can laugh at them basically.
We might be shooting ourselves in the foot, because on one side we say Krishna is Buddha. We say it's totally focused.
Yeah, but we have backings for those things, right? We just don't say something for the sake of it. And they say that the material world has arisen without any cause. There is no cause to the material world, and produce of sex desire or lust. So they think that a man and a woman, they have a sex desire, so they come together, and because of this sex desire, there is progeny. That's it. There is no other reason. Whereas our Vedic scriptures are very clearly explaining that the next soul who is going to come according to the karma, according to the matching of their cycles, and they are not going to happen if there is no deva netrena karmana. There has to be a vision from a divine nature. So, you just can't have children out of nowhere if there was no soul. Thus they are lost to themselves, nash atmanaha, that their souls are lost and they have no intelligence. Again, this is buddhaya, word means intelligence, but alpa is another word which you should always remember. Alpa means less. Krishna uses this word in Bhagavad Gita also. Alpa medhashaha. Medha also means intelligence. Buddhaya also refers to intelligence. Medha, buddhaya, and alpa means less. So alpa word is used many shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavatam, and other places. They engage in unbeneficial works, ugra karma, because they are thinking that we'll make more money, but more money for what? Not for God realization. Not for God realization. Prabhupada says, as for the behavior, there are many rules and regulations guiding human behavior, such as Manu Samhita, which is the law for the human race. Even up to today, those who are Hindu follow Manu Samhita. Laws of inheritance and other legalities are derived from this book. Now in the Manu Samhita, it is clearly stated that a woman should not be given freedom. That does not mean that women are to be kept as slaves, but they are like children. Women are like children. So now in the Western connotation, people have very negative understanding of this statement that women are not to be given freedom. In the context that in Abrahamic religions, one specific Abrahamic religion permits you to have women as slaves. I can't name you that religion for whatever reasons. It permits you to have women as slaves. And is that even religion? Religio? It's not even coming anywhere close, but yet they prophesize themselves as one of the most fastest spreading religion in the world. Whereas you can keep them as slaves. That's their direct injunction from that religion. So essentially, Manu Samhita is clear that women, they don't need freedom, they need security. Now, again, Prabhupada uses the principles according to Desha, Kala, and Patra, meaning time, place, and circumstance. When Prabhupada came to the West, Prabhupada saw that the women in the West were very independent in nature. They could do things themselves, very unlike to the women that we have in India, where women were extremely dependent, just by their feminine aspects. So Prabhupada loosened some of the controls and structures of the Vedic system. He loosened some of the systems and controls. Did Prabhupada do right or wrong? Question to all of you.
Easy one. Of course he did right because he tried he knows past, present, and future, the pure divine. Prabhupada
is pure devotee. He knows past, present, and future, and therefore he did something not according to the Vedic injunctions.
Totally right. So he's got the right to do it. He's in tune with Krishna as well.
He is in tune with Krishna.
Krishna can give that guidance to him.
Okay, but people from India will, clearly chastise him, like the, different paramparas. They will chastise him and they'll say he didn't follow the Vedic injunctions.
It's controversial.
It's controversial. Yeah. Okay. Any other answers?
It sounds a little bit like the thing we discussed earlier.
Yes. So there we saw what was the outcome. But do you have any answers for this? Where Prabhupada actually loosened the controls. Yes, Mataji.
I can't imagine that the movement would have been as successful in the West had he not loosened it. But at the same time, it's not necessarily about numbers, though, is it? So,
yes.
But obviously, Prabhupada was directed by his Guru Krishna, so he knew what he had to do.
Correct. So far I have got very similar two answers. That Prabhupada knew what he had to do. He was guided by his spiritual master Krishna, and so he was okay to loosen the Vedic injunction. Any answers from online members? Yes, Mataji.
He still gives what the Vedas say.
He still gives what the Vedas. Yeah. So Lisa Mataji is saying Prabhupada is still giving what the Vedas say. He is not completely crossing them out. Is not throwing them out completely. He's still giving all other information is given is from Vedas. But for these one or two things here and there, everything is according to the Vedas. Is that okay? Okay. Any other answers from someone online? Freedom for women. the reason it's important to discuss this topic properly is because then if you don't discuss it now, then tomorrow you will read something in the books and you will be bewildered that, oh, Prabhupada actually said that women should not be given freedom. Then you will become a, like what, this feminist activists. We want to get you the proper understanding.
I was actually writing notes whilst you were asking questions. What was the exact question?
Exact question is that Prabhupada says that women should not be given freedom according to Manu Samhita, according to Vedic scripture. But Prabhupada, when he came to the West, he loosened these principles and he allowed Matajis to stay in Brahmachari ashram. So is Prabhupada correct in loosening these Vedic injunctions? So some of the answers we have got is Mataji has said that Prabhupada has given everything else correctly, but here one or two things are a little bit not clear to us. It's controversial. But also Mataji is saying that Prabhupada got information from his spiritual master, from Krishna directly. So Prabhupada must be doing right. He's also saying that Prabhupada had purity. So everything in that sense is right. Is there any other answers you can think of? Why Prabhupada had to loosen the control in the West? Yes.
Maybe just pragmatism, like modern society functions differently, and he had to be pragmatic and adapt.
Wonderful. So Mataji has given an answer which is Prabhupada had to be pragmatic to the modern society and he had to adapt. So this is a correct answer. But being pragmatic and adapting, does it violate the principles of the scripture? That's the most controversial point. So now you will know that if someone violates the principles of the scripture, the potency is lost. Shakti will not be there. But if you maintain the principles of the scripture, then there will be no one who will be able to actually take to the principle. There is a big problem here, right? It's a chicken and egg situation. If you continue to maintain the Vedic injunction, then no one will be able to understand, accept it. But if you lose it, then the potency of the Vedic knowledge, the power, the Shakti of the Parampara will be lost. Yeah. So yes.
When you have, across the course of history, you have qualified and empowered individuals that come depending on the time, place, and circumstance.
Yes.
And Prabhupada also, he asked people to continue editing his books.
Yes.
Well. So people that have been empowered.
Yeah.
They're qualified to act according to time, place, and circumstance.
Yes. Yes.
I want them to go together.
Yes. Okay. So Zander Prabhu gave a very good example. Is according to time, place, and circumstance, Prabhupada was empowered to, educate the same knowledge with the different combinations of medicines. Educate the same effect, but with the different medicines. So this happened with Chanakya Pandit. Chanakya Pandit, when he was there, he saw some discrepancies of certain portions of Manu Samhita. And then he actually, Manu Samhita, if you are in the Vedic line, you can't change anything, at least in Manu Samhita. But when Chanakya Pandit saw these discrepancies in his times, then he basically came up with an injunction, and that injunction was passed unanimously. Is that sometimes as the time progresses, some of the things will not be suitable for that time and circumstance. And so an intelligent person will have to come up with something which still maintains the same line of thought. And so to maintain the potency of it. It should not become corrupted, that it's gone. And it should be potent enough to have the same line of thought. It will have minor changes. It can have changes in details. So the details can change. And then he set a hierarchy and precedence that whatever is in the scriptures according to the time, place, and circumstance should be considered first. And then, the higher scriptures like Manu Samhita should be considered. So Prabhupada actually didn't violate any Vedic principles. He just changed the details of the Vedic knowledge so that actually it can be adopted. Otherwise, we will be falling into a situation where no one is able to take Bhagavad Gita. Young people like Vaibhav, Kush, and Sohail will think, oh, if I learn Bhagavad Gita, I can't have enjoyments in my life. That's not true. That's not what Bhagavad Gita explains. There is this fine balance.
The beauty of it is the potency thing, that hindsight will show you scientifically. If potency is not lost, then no harm is done.
No harm is done.
So that is the test.
That is the
If
test.
potency is lost, then you can say it's not from top down, it's from your mind.
It's broken. Yeah. The chain is broken because the mind got introduced there. Yeah. So these are some of the activities of the demons: taking shelter of insatiable thirst for enjoyment, absorbed in conceit of pride and false prestige. They are illusioned, attracted by impermanent, and are always sworn to unclean vows. This word is very important. Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Asuchi vrata. I don't know if you can see. Shuchi vrata is the word used. Pravartante, it is here. This word here, Shuchi vrata, when you have this dash in front of, that means there is an A which is hidden here. So this hidden A makes it Ashuchi vrata. Ashuchi vrata, meaning unclean vows, meaning unclean habits. Unclean habits are actually like unclean vows, because habit is something that you are doing again and again. Something that you're doing and again, subconsciously you have vowed to do it. So their attitude is kama upabhoga, which means they have unlimited anxieties until the end of their life. So they want to enjoy upabhoga. Bhoga means bhoga, that you take for the Lord. And then when Krishna eats it, it becomes prasad. But when we eat it, it becomes kama bhoga, because it's out of our own desires. And we become upabhogi. Upabhogi means great enjoyer, one who is enjoying. So here we are kama upabhoga. That is our attitude, for a demoniac person. And their engagement is asha pasha. This is a very important word. Asha pasha. They never give up hope. They hope against the hope. They never give up the hope. And pasha means they are tying themselves so hard in this hope and desires, that they can't come out of it. Lust and anger is the end result of all of this. And the destination of demoniac, we have already seen there, it is hellish. Thus, perplexed by various anxieties, they are bound by a network of illusions. They become strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into unclean hell, the Vaitarni, filled with blood and pus. That this is one specific type of hell. If you want to understand, get more knowledge about different types of hells, please refer to 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Towards last sections, I think it's almost the second last and third last chapters. 5th canto. It should come with bad dreams. So 5th canto tells you about all of these hellish planets in great details, and they are hair-raising, shocking, and it will force you to become a good human being. Everything that you can think of, possibly you might have already done it. So, but it's good to read. Demoniac nature, they are self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, and sometimes proudly do sacrifice in name only. So they also want to get philanthropical accolades. In the time of Prabhupada, there was one more Mayavad. And this Mayavadi sannyasi, he basically was a great sannyasi. And after doing all his sannyas, he came to India and he started opening schools and hospitals. And when Prabhupada told him, if there is no soul to go to the next destination, then why are you opening these schools and hospitals for them? If you open schools and hospitals, they'll be better here. And after they become better here, what are they going to do? Nothing. They're just going to be happy here. And then he was also preaching about reincarnation. And Prabhupada was taking him on and on and on. Because the Mayavad philosophy doesn't make any sense. For a senseful person who understands logic, it is senseless philosophy. So, and most important thing is without following any scriptural regulations. They don't follow scriptural regulations. If you tell them, I've met quite a few of these wealthy people. These people, if you go to them and tell them about Bhagavad Gita, then they'll think, oh, this person has come. He's going to teach me again something spiritual. He thinks he is very knowledge. I went to my mother's brother, my uncle in English, mama. I don't know what it is called in English. My uncle's brother, my mother's brother. Now he has been in a very great, powerful position for many years, like superintendent in customs, where he used to give people advice. So he read some Bhagavad Gita of a Mayavadi, and after many years, I went to see him, and I was also starting to speak about Bhagavad Gita, with him, just basics of Bhagavad Gita. And he just couldn't listen to me. He said, oh no, this is like this means this means this. And I was like, oh man, how do I speak to him? When you are new, you don't know how to deal. After 2 years, I went to him again, and he started to ask me what was my salary. How much did I make? And I told him that how much I make actually is not tied with my happiness. And it's actually definitely not tied with my knowledge. And so, till date, when we meet, there is this argument between me and him. And I'm trying to tell him that, I'm happy to be proven wrong because I love you more than the knowledge you have. And over the years, he has gone softer. He has now realized it, because to get something, you have to give something. If you just give them patient ears for some time, and then they understand that you love them more, then they're willing to give up their philosophies. Because philosophies always cause friction. Kirtan causes no friction. Everyone can join Kirtan, they can dance. But then, if you have to stay together as an institution, you have to have philosophy. And you have to be clear on the philosophy. Otherwise, you will get diverted into many different branches and sub-branches. And it has happened to some devotees who I stayed with myself in my young age. When we were possibly of Xander's age, we were living in a flat with brahmacharis together. And, we were all nice, good. And then we got married. One of my friend moved to Mayapur. Well, I was very fortunate and greatly, blessed by the Lord with good association. I started to pick up some knowledge. But that devotee, he didn't started reading scriptures properly. So when he went to Mayapur, there he met with many different divisions of, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And then they started to tell him, oh, this is not properly told to you. This is half told to you. This is improper. This is not proper. And then what happens? Okay, he was listening to them. Then what happened? One day, a devotee in ISKCON temple behaved very badly with him. So now he has got a personal cringe here with ISKCON. So that person's bad behavior, and because that person represented ISKCON or had a position of power in ISKCON, now he started to relate ISKCON with his behavior. Now that one bad behavior turned into two bad interactions. Because he was not fixated in knowledge, therefore he was, taken away by so-called different mathas. That to the date, he has not got a good taste for ISKCON again. So if you have to be in ISKCON, if you have to be established devotee, you have to read scriptures. Otherwise, you will get pulled out without knowledge. And there are some further results. If they take shelter of the false ego, strength, pride, lust, anger, and thus they are bewildered. They become envious of me, who is situated in their own bodies and in the other bodies of others. They blaspheme against the real religion. Any questions so far? Everyone's clear? Now, for this specific point, envy, Prabhupada says that Chanakya Pandit has mentioned two types of envious living entities. One is a snake who is very envious. And another one is an envious human being. Now, my question to you, which one is dangerous? An envious snake or an envious human being? Which one is more dangerous? Sorry? Envious human. Okay.
I was going to say a snake with a jewel on his head.
A snake with a jewel on his head is more envious.
It's more dangerous.
More dangerous, yes. Anyone online? Envious human being is more dangerous or an envious snake? Just so that you understand what is the nature of envy, is someone is just walking by without any reason, they will come and bite you. Snake, envious snake, without any reason. It's a good sunny day. You have not offended them.
You put the stick or anything.
You have not offended the snake. You have not put leg on the snake or burnt them or, like children play with snakes. So on good old sunny day, the snake will come, and when you are nicely dressed up, happy in the mood, going along, he'll just come and bite you and just cause you the havoc.
Somebody else probably wound it up now. You're getting the medicine.
Could be. That also happens. Some children play with the snake and leave him in this distasteful manner, and the snake goes and bites someone else. Happens. But the beauty is, snake doesn't need someone else to wind him up. By default, snake is envious living entity. It will come and bite you. So now the question comes, is envious snake more dangerous or is envious human being more dangerous? Envious human being. How many of you say envious human being here? I've got, okay, one, online, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 people, and then Kush also, okay. What about Anishwar, Laveen Prabhu also, okay. So all of you are unanimously saying, almost all of you are saying envious human being is more dangerous than envious. Why? Answer.
No, but who's going the other way? Did some people go the other way?
No one went the other way. Why do you think that envious human beings are more dangerous? Yes, Laveen Prabhu.
I would say it's because at least if a snake attacks you, you know where it stands, where it's with a human, you don't know where.
Yes, wonderful. Wonderful. Human envy can't be seen.
Isn't there something about you can say some mantras or something like that
Yes, to control the snake. Snake charmers. Yes. So you listen to Prabhupada classes. Snake charmers can say some mantra and they can control the snake, so that snake doesn't bite you. But there is no mantra to control human beings from biting you.
So with the snake, once it's bitten you, you know it's bitten you, right?
Yes.
The action is with a human, you come
Again and again and again. They can bite you so many times. So with human beings, the envy is hidden. They can bite you so many times and then they can't be controlled, like with the mantras. So, so this is envious. So they become envious of Krishna, the demoniac people. Krishna is actually situated in their own bodies and they become envious and they blaspheme against the real religion. So what is the Krishna's treatment of demoniac people? He says, I perpetually cast the envious, cruel, and the lowest among men into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Attaining repeated birth amongst the demoniac species, such fools can never approach me, O son of Kunti. Gradually, they sink down to the lowest status of life. So after they go down to the lowest species of life, basically.
This is worse than the Dushkritin.
Yeah, Dushkritin are bad actors. They will eventually reach the same situation. But unless, the person who they are offending don't take the offense, like they are a devotee. Dushkritinas are everywhere. Mudhas, Dushkritinas, Maya, Aprita, Jnana. Because of the Maya, because they just want to enjoy too much, their Jnana is Aprita. Aprita means arrested or kidnapped. Aparan, the Hindi word is Apharan. Haran means to take away. Apaharan, forcibly to take away something. So Apaharan, the word is repeatedly used in Bhagavatam. Maya, Aprita, Jnana. Aprita is the specific word used for kidnapping.
I was thinking it's desperate, but what you're saying is the result of the outcome will be the same.
Yeah, because the problem is that they are demoniac in nature. Their tendency is to be demoniac. Gradually, they sink down to the lowest status of life. So what's the solution out of this then?
Incarnate. Krishna is Krishna to incarnate.
No, the problem is very serious. It's not a joke. The reason the problem is serious is when they are going down in the lower species of life, they have no avenue to know Krishna. Do you get it? How serious it is? No, not just darkness. I am saying when your consciousness reduces in size, when you are sedated by NHS, you don't know where you are. So I'm saying when someone goes down in the species of life, they have no opportunity to know Krishna, which means they can't elevate themselves. The only way to elevate someone from into higher species is to somehow associate with Krishna. There are many stories like Narad Muni said, and spoke to this worm, and the worm became in next life the cow, and then he went to see the cow, and the cow gave up the body, and the next life he went home back to Godhead. Because love matra sadhu sangena, that even for a small moment he had an association of a sadhu, the species of life was changing constantly. The problem with going down the lower species of life is there is no remembrance of Krishna. If you are in a human body and you have no remembrance of Krishna, you are as good as low species of life. That's why Prabhupada calls animals.
Only time is separated. That's going to be the outcome for anyone.
You have to go through all these species of life before actually coming to human form of life. And even in human form of life, you have desires. You have Maya, you have desires. Now you have Kali Yuga. You have the mind, which is an impure mind. So there are too many obstacles. So it's really dangerous to glide down to the lower species of life. This happened to Jaya and Vijay. The prayer of Jaya and Vijay, when the four Kumaras cursed them, the first thing they prayed to the four Kumaras, okay, you have cursed us, but oh Lord, now that we are going to glide down to the lower species, but please bless us so that we don't forget you. Because of the reduction in consciousness, there is no memory, there is no remembrance. So their first prayers of Jaya Vijay, when they were cursed that they will go to lower species of life in human form of life, the first prayer from Vaikuntha to human form, their first prayer is to, we don't have forgetfulness of you, oh my Lord. Please give us that blessing. Then we will be happy to glide down. And then Krishna offered them two options. Many, many lifetimes with less remembrance, or 3 demoniac lifetimes with full remembrance. Because those 3 demons were constantly remembering Krishna. Kamsa was constantly thinking Krishna, how to kill him, where will I beat him, where will I, kill him like that. He was constantly planning. So because they were devotees of the Lord, they chose the second option, which is full remembrance.
But they were really smart, right? To get that in, that we don't lose our consciousness.
Yes, of course, if you are in Vaikuntha, no like ordinary guy, or you have to be smartest guy to reach Vaikuntha, right? The smartest, the sharpest guys reach Vaikuntha. The so-called smart and sharp people of the material world don't reach Vaikuntha. Only the smart and sharp spiritual guys reach Vaikuntha. So that was their first phase, that do not let us forget you, O my Lord. So gradually they sink down to lower status of life. And then Krishna, this is the most famous verse which we must all memorize. Trividham naraksha idham dwaram nashnam atmanaha kama krodhas tatha lobhas. Kama, krodha, lust, anger and greed. These are 3 gates to hell. And every sane man should give this up. 3 means 3. There is no explanation of Sanskrit needed for some words. 3 vidham. Vidham means vidhis or 3 ways. Naraksha. Naraka means hellish planets. Heaven means Swarga and hell means Narka. Naraksha idam. Dwaram means the door. Nashanam, which means the destruction of Atmana, of the soul. 3 things cause destruction of the soul and open your door to the hellish planets, Krishna is declaring. Which are those 3 things? Kama, Krodha, Tatha, Lobhas. Kama, Krodha and Lobha. And then he concludes Tasmad. Tasmad means therefore. Etat trayam tyajet. That these 3 things one should tyajet, tyajan, give up. One should give up Kama, Krodha and Lobha. So you cannot escape hell without practicing your dharma. That's important. You can't give up Kama, Krodha and Lobha if you don't practice your dharma. This comes back to your question. Why are you wanting to be dog of masters outside? My dharma, first dharma is to provide for my family. And if I don't follow my dharma, then I will fall down to hellish situation. I will possibly want to enjoy myself if I don't provide for them, because I'm focused towards my enjoyment. And in that way, I'll become even bigger sense gratifier. Not to say that I'm not one now in my Grihastha life, but even bigger, even the worst one. So by following dharma, I can escape. I have an opportunity to escape these hell.
What's precedence?
Yes.
You've got different things, but which has a higher weighting?
Correct. Because you have to progress, right? It doesn't say progressed. It says progress, which means it's an active principle.
The dharma has the highest weighting.
Yes. You cannot escape hellish conditions without you practice your own dharma. And maximum people are confused about their own dharmas. They don't have distinction between swadharma and parodharma.
This is huge.
Yeah. Most of the people, because they don't know what their dharma is, they're always confused in their lives. And therefore, they're not happy as human beings. And they might think they're progressing spiritually, but it becomes a difficult path. Nonetheless, if they hold on to Krishna, then by the, over some time, it becomes easier. Okay, then how do I know what my dharma then? Question to you all. How do you all know what is your dharma? That is parodharma. I am asking about your swadharma. Okay, we are about time, so I want to just very quickly. How do you know what is your dharma?
$1 question.
$1 million question. Yes, Madhuri. Spiritual master, yes, that's one correct way of knowing your dharma. But oftentimes, spiritual master may not know you completely in and out. Guru, sadhu, shastra. Shastra.
I can tell you what it's not. It's not Janma in Kali Yuga.
There is no?
It's not by Janma in Kali Yuga.
Not by Janma in Kali Yuga. Yeah, you don't know your dharma by Janma. It's not possible to know your dharma by Janma. So the only way to know your dharma is these three things: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And specifically Shastra. Specifically Shastra will tell you what is your dharma.
Shastra?
Shastra, scriptures.
Ah.
Scriptures can tell you what is your dharma.
Shastra is like a uniform thing, right? How's an individual who's changing?
Individual may be the changing, the desires may be mutating, but Shastra is always the absolute.
Yeah.
It's the same. So you can know what your dharma, which is not changing. Dharma is also for you, there is your dharma. So that dharma you can only know from Shastra, which is absolute, which can actually tell you about yourself.
Oh, by the lakshanas, your qualities, and then you match it up.
It can tell you your qualities, your mental qualities, your psychophysical tendencies. You can actually know yourself by reading scriptures.
Oh, you mean revelation will come?
Yes, revelations can come, but also just by studying, you will know what all types exists. And then you will start to ponder. First, it opens up your mind. See, when you go out for a presentation, there are two types of presentation. One is called interactive presentation, where you have question and answers, and everyone is engaging with you. But some types of presentations are knowledge-driven presentations. You have to be given some knowledge first. You have to have some food for your mind first. And when it starts chewing the food, then it comes to know what is the taste of certain food I am eating. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita can never be understood just by interactions. There has to be an element of surrender where someone has to actually open their brain and listen. If they are able to listen, then they will have food to chew upon. And then their expansion of consciousness will happen. Then they will know what situation they are in. And then they will know through scripture. So scripture is basically everything. It is opening up your eyes. It is telling you about the Guru. It is telling you about the God. It is telling you about yourself. It is telling you about all other living entities. That's why scriptures are the basis of everything. Yeah, Mata Pita is also important. They start telling you about scriptures. So scriptures is the most important and actually tell you your dharma. Further results of disregarding scripture, Krishna stresses this. Those who disregard scripture, what happens to them? He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor liberation. When I say this thing in English, it makes some impact. But when I read the Sanskrit for this, it blows my mind. It says literally, Yah Shastra Vidhim Utsrija. Yah means this. Shastra Vidhim, meaning Vidhim means Vidhi of the Shastra. The powerful, strong jaw-like injunctions of the Shastra, Utsrija, gives up. One who gives up these powerful injunctions of the Shastra, Vartate Kamakarata. And he who is Vartate means engaged out of Kamaha. And karta means, doing something. Karata means constantly engaged. So someone who is constantly engaged by his kama and actually doesn't take Shastra as vidhi and gives up utsrija, gives up Shastra, na siddhim avapnoti. That person can't have siddhi. Doesn't matter who they are, they can't have siddhi. Na sukham, na param gatim. Three things.
So definitive.
Very definitive. And Krishna has used strong words. Na sukham, na param gatim. You will not get happiness in this material world also. What to speak of param gatim? You will not get that also. You will not achieve any kind of siddhi. So that's why Krishna is laying extreme importance on scripture.
I will also say that's what I'm emphasizing so much. Where is book? Where is book?
Where is books? Where is... Yes. Yes. And now Prabhupada mentions these three categories of people. And one category is one person who does not follow scriptures. What do you think? What is the result of such a person who does not follow scriptures? Huh? One who does not follow scriptures. What happens to them? What is their outcome? Degradation to hellish life. You've won the $1 million question. So one who does not follow scriptures goes to hellish life. Second type of person, one who follows rules and regulations but does not come to the stage of understanding the Supreme Lord. So they are following all the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but they don't come to for understanding the Supreme Lord. So they can call them as demigod worshippers. They know that there is Supreme Lord, but they still want their beautiful wife, beautiful husband, big house, and so they go to a specific demigod. So what is their result? All his knowledge becomes spoiled. Even if they've gained some knowledge, their knowledge becomes spoiled. That means that they are going again in ignorance. That means they are again gliding down. And the third type of person, which is the most, actually, I'll not tell you whether it is most or not most. I've already told it. Oh my God, I revealed it. Shit. Oh, I'm not using that word. Apologies. I'm in mode of Rajas and Tamas. My apologies. Okay, so the third person who is actually the most unfortunate, the worst of the lot is this category. Accepts existence of God but does not engage in devotional service.
That's what Prabhupada says the real definition of madness.
He said that? Okay.
Knows but does not do it.
So this is the worst category of a human being. And result, her attempts are spoiled. Because if you don't engage in devotional service, you are attempting to enjoy the material world. And your attempt to enjoy the material world also is spoiled. Because you know that there is God. You know that you can't enjoy the material world. And a lot of devotees, including myself, fall under this unfortunate category. No, we are like the honeybee who is outside the bottle of honey. This insect which is meandering about outside the bottle of the honey, and it's not going inside because the lid is closed. They actually want to dive into the honey and they want to enjoy so much. But because, they don't know lid is closed, they can't get in. They are actually the most unfortunate. It's our situation where we are not convinced that we have to go back home, back to Godhead. And sometimes we may be convinced theoretically. But we still want enjoyments of the material world. We are not there, like the Jesus says, that don't be lukewarm. Either be hot or be cold. Don't be lukewarm. That is my situation.
This is a Mishra Bhakti.
This is Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, or other types of... It's actually not Bhakti, to be honest, because Bhakti means devotional service. But you are just after Jnana, or your enjoyments that are coming from Jnana, or you are after enjoyments that is coming from Karma, or you are after enjoyments from Dhyana, because you want to enjoy. So this is a problem, and this is the third and the most unfortunate category. So we don't want to be in this category. Therefore, we say devotees be fired up. Take one sadhana and do it really nice. learn Sanskrit properly, learn shlokas properly, listen Prabhupada lectures regularly, like that. You know, because if you are not in constant touch with a knowledge, you will get deviated, full stop. No matter how powerful you are, if you are constantly doing kirtan and dancing in kirtan for 20 years, and then you are thinking that you are transcendentalist without actually having cultivated any knowledge, you are not in knowledge. You are going to deviate soon. It's a matter of moments when you will get deviated. So solution, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness or devotional service. This is the solution for this. Prabhupada says gradually, because if you do something very fast, then it is not organic. You have not had enough time to assimilate. You have not have enough time to have reciprocation from the Supreme Lord. Because only when you get reciprocation, when you get, see, our process is experience. There are many shops outside. You can go to those shops like churches and, you know, Jehovah's Witness and Buddhists, and there are unlimited shops. But Krishna conscious means experiencing God. Every individual person in Krishna consciousness must experience God. And the way to experience God is what is devotional service called. If you do this experiment, if you follow the process of devotional service in scientific way, you will experience God. That is devotional service, and therefore you have to be gradual. You know, someone wants to know God immediately. Someone said, if God, you exist, then I'm standing here. You come now straight away. Show yourself to me if you really exist. If you don't come now, you don't exist. That doesn't mean anything. It just means flickering mind. So until unless you follow the process and gradually, you can become a star brahmachari, you can become a star bhakta, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are progressing spiritually. Progressing spiritually is a different ball game. It comes with time and gradual advancement. Regular service, systematic and regular service, systematic and regular reading.
So it's not external hallmarks, it's realization.
It's the realization. What else is there to be? Knowing Krishna means knowing Krishna. It can't be replaced with anything else. To become perfect means to know Krishna. Prabhupada said in last chapter, 15th chapter, Krishna said it. Those who know me will have perfection in all their endeavors. So to know Krishna means to become perfect. And to become perfect means to know Krishna. And there is no substitute for it. Can you know unlimited within a limited 10, 20, 30, 40 days, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year? Someone can say, oh, I've been in the moment for like 30 long years. And now I know everything in this moment. And what all they are telling is, I know how ISKCON as a movement operates. I have seen all kinds of good presidents, bad presidents. I've seen everything. But what they are not meaning is, I know Krishna on this aspect so well now. So the point is, you can't know unlimited in a very small, teeny, mini amount of time. Yeah, your false ego can think, I know Krishna. Your false ego can make you think that your self-worth, you can inflate it up. And you can think that, oh, now I am this person, I have got this. But actually to know God, it is a gradual process. It has to be a gradual process. And this is the conclusion. Every chapter of Bhagavad Gita has an amazing conclusion. And this is my favorite verse, which I always recite to myself. And it begins with therefore. Begins with therefore. Begins with tasmad. Anywhere in Bhagavad Gita, whenever you come across this word tasmad, your ears should immediately start singing and dancing, standing up, because it means it's a conclusion. Krishna is concluding something. And conclusion is no ordinary thing. Conclusion happens after trillions of lifetimes of birth. Ye yatha mam prapadyante. Only people who come to me who are in real knowledge. Gyanman mam prapadyate, Krishna says. So here he is now concluding that tasmad, therefore. Now again, English you can read, but it doesn't give you impact. I'll tell you what Sanskrit, how powerful and impactful it is. Tasmad, therefore, shastram, pramanam te. Pramanam, word uses evidence. But praman literally means like physical evidence. Like there is no doubt when you show physical evidence that yes, this is this and this is not this. So Tasmat Shastra. So you take Bhagavad Gita in your hand, physical evidence, you take it as a physical evidence, pramanam te, then you do karya, akarya, vyavasthita. Karya means your regular day-to-day activities. What to do and what not to do. Akarya. Karya, akarya. That's combined in one single word. Vyavasthita. Vyavasthita means accordingly. Vyavasthit means nicely in a systematic fashion. And the same word nicely in a systematic fashion, which is vyavasthit, it can also mean accordingly. So karya, so do your activities and what to do and what not to do them accordingly, according to the evidence, according to the direct physical evidence of the scriptures. And then Jnanatva Shastra Vidhanoktam. Don't just take this Shastra as ordinary evidence. Like knowing that these regulations, Jnanatva Shastra Vidhanoktam, it is translated as knowing these regulations of the scriptures. But it also means Jnanatva means knowing, Shastra means Shastra, Vidhan Uktam. Vidhan Uktam is divided into two words, Vidhan and Uktam. Vidhan means something which is axiomatic. It's no longer an evidence. So Krishna is saying that knowing that the scriptures are axiomatic truths of existence. Facts. Do your karma accordingly. One should act so that he may be gradually alive. Karma kartum iha arhasi. Do your karma according to the scriptures. Take them, consider them as evidence. Don't just consider them as an evidence. Take them as your axiomatic truths of your life. And for every question, every problem in your life, use the scripture and follow them as axiomatic truths. If you are in confusion, if you are in doubt, open a book. Read Bhagavad Gita. It will present to you evidence. And it's an axiomatic truth because God is saying it. It's a vidhan. Vidhi ka vidhan. Vidhi means, one person who actually writes all the rules and regulations. And what rules and regulations they write, the lower people follow. Like there are certain rules of the government. There are certain rules of the state. Every ordinary person is supposed to follow them. They are called laws. Right? They are called laws. So Shastra is a law, vidhan. It's not just an evidence, it's a law. So this is a very nice verse one should remember and one should memorize.
Is that why you're so emphatically saying that you can get your swadharma from Shastra?
From Shastra.
Because of
It's a vidhan. It's not just an evidence for what is happening in the material world. The reason it is happening is because of this. And I'm telling you in Bhagavad Gita, because of this, this is happening. Like, from anger comes, from illusion comes anger, frustration. There is this verse. Mohat dhyato, Vishyan dhyato pumsa sangat te subhajayate, sangat sanjayate, kama, kamat krodho vijayate, krodho bhavati sammoha. Krodh comes because of illusion. Krodho bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibbrahma. In your illusion, your memory is not, in your anger, your memory is not stable. Because when memory is unstable, only then whatever you know, you already forget it. Because, you are in anger, memory is not stable. Smriti brahmashat buddhi nasho. When the memory is not, the intelligence is a function of memory. When memory is dwindling, intelligence can't work. Smriti brahmasat buddhi nasho, buddhi nashat pranashyati. Then you eventually fall down, when your buddhi is gone down. So now I can use this and when I see people in the world, I can say, yeah, now he's angry because he's attached. So I can take Bhagavad Gita as an evidence. But the higher stages, I'm not going to take it as an evidence. I know that that person is angry because he's attached. I will take it as an axiomatic truth. Not just as I will take it as a law. It's a Shabda Brahma. So therefore, Krishna is saying, use it as an evidence, but it's also a law. Whether you want to accept the evidence or not, because in evidence, there is question. One party may agree, one party may not agree. So when it's a law of the state, there is no dubious question. Yeah, it's a law. So therefore, this verse, Tasmat Shastram Pramanamte Karya Akarya Vyavasthita, accordingly, properly, systematically, Jnanatva Shastra Vidhanoktam. So therefore, English has been translated in certain way. But when you read Sanskrit, sometimes they are not completely in sync. The overall context and meaning is the same, but the power is lost sometimes because English doesn't have full vocabulary of the Sanskrit. Jnanatva Shastra. After knowing this, after knowing the Shastra, consider it as Vidhan Uktam, meaning Vidhan which has been Uktam. Uvacha. You have heard the word Uvacha. Bhagavan Uvacha. Uvacha means to speak, and the similar root word is Uktam. So Vidhan Uktam. Consider that this as spoken law. Consider Shastra as a spoken law.
So the thread, the 13th, 15th, and here now, again, Krishna is re-emphasizing Veda Shastra.
Yeah, specifically Bhagavad Gita, because 15th he has established that he is the source of Vedas and the compiler and the knower of the Vedas. So he is specifically stressing on the scriptures, the Vedas, and specifically the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam.
13 as well, 13.5.
13.5, yes, 13.5 as well. Very good. You read it. 13.5, he said, he quoted other Rishi Munis and other Vedic authors. So with that, we'll stop. I had many more things I wanted to discuss. Unfortunately, time is never enough with Bhagavad Gita. I will try, but next week is again very important chapter, divisions of faith. Because this question on divisions of faith comes quite often times, because we have many religions, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Islam, and Hinduism. So people don't understand that followers of Bhagavad Gita, are you Hindus? They ask this question. And if someone says, no, we are not Hindus, then Hindus become offended that this is our book. Right? And if they say that, yes, we are Hindus, then Hindu is a very wide branch. So where do you come in inside Hinduism?
Could you do an audio recording and send it to us with that word on the what's it called? WhatsApp group?
On extra stuff?
Yeah, the stuff that you wanted to get done.
It's better to be done in person, but I think it's 2 o'clock almost. So we should not go above. Already we are half an hour above. So thank you everyone for tolerating me, and thank you for your patience. Hope you have not slept. And if you have slept in between, my humble obeisance and I beg your forgiveness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And yes, Manaja. Yeah.
When you were saying about the verse where Prabhupada says women, so the purple process, women should be given freedom.
Yeah.
There is a poetry in the Bible.
Yes.
424.
Okay.
But like it doesn't fit. I know that Prabhupada is not condoning that.
Yes.
But if anybody was to ask me, I don't know how I would explain it.
Wonderful. I like your honesty.
Sorry, do we need to stop the recording?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. How do we stop recording? Your screen should stop share and then stop recording. Recording stop.